Chapter 60-63. He dragged with one hand and directly blocked Jian Wushuang's strongest sword. But what came was just a Dharma body. The deity is outside the northern time and space. As the of the universe, he cannot enter the lower time and space. Although the divine power of the Dharma body is only 20 million, it does not delay him in saving Beirut. You are. Jian Wushuang looked at the figure and thought of the carvings in the formation of Sky City. Similar to each other's appearance. Just when he was surprised, Jing Su and the Realm King called out each other's names in unison. Zamas. Hearing this name, Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing both began to look at each other carefully. It's not the first time I've heard the name Zamas. Every time there is a threat to the northern time and space, there is this person behind it. After seeing it this time, I didn't find anything strange. Dharma body, 20 million divine power. That's it. At this time, the king of the realm reminded him, don't underestimate him, this is the auxiliary time and space, and the other party is the universe god. Entering the auxiliary time and space is equivalent to entering the shackles of the supreme rules again, so the divine power seems very weak. If it is in the world god continent, he can kill a demigod just by blowing his breath. So strong. Jian Wushuang couldn't believe it. Don't doubt my words, we can't afford to offend him. The Realm King sighed. The more he said that, the more he wanted to try. Why can't you be bothered? When he was an emperor, he dared to fight against the star, destroy life, and was able to escape from the opponent's hands so many times. Now that he is the Lord of the Seven Tribulations realm universe, there is nothing to be afraid of. His eyes also looked at Zama's wanton. Brother Wushuang, it's better to be careful, Zama's has a special power in him, and we are far from rivals. Hui Qing also shook his head to discourage him. The smell was really too strong. Jian Wushuang nodded, not taking the shot lightly. However, his words have already been released, and it is not easy for anyone to come today. Zama's was suspended in the air, ignoring everyone, turning his head to look at Beirut, which was constantly expanding, and said with a gloomy expression, trash. He raised his hand, and his mind force forcibly wrapped Beirut, so he wanted to take the other party away. Jian Wushuang took a step forward, but stood in the way. Want to go? This action of his shocked the king of the realm. No time to stop. Jing Su also held his breath. Although he was a disciple of the great realm king and the pinnacle of demigods, he was like an ant in front of a big man like Zamasu. Seeing that Jian Wushuang was so bold, he went to stop a peak powerhouse among the universe gods, and secretly admired the courage of the other party. Maybe it's the ignorance of the ignorant. Huh. Zama's was also amused by Jian Wushuang's posture. After looking straight at him, he frowned. Boy, are you talking to me? Jian Wushuang didn't think there was anything wrong. Beirut wanted to destroy the northern time and space. He shot to stop it. Isn't that right? My words, I have said it very clearly, he must stay today. This time, the Realm King finally had a chance to stop him, so he rushed over and blocked Jian Wushuang. When looking at Zama's, his expression softened and said, Lord Zama's, he has not been to the world god continent yet, he does not know your identity, there is not a huge amount. TSK, this shows that you have a lot of talents in the northern time and space. You are so arrogant even if you haven't been to the world god continent. When you went to the world god continent, did you shoot me directly? Zamasu squinted at the king of the northern realm, and did not take the other party in his eyes at all. Even so, the realm king still endured. Can only quickly apologize. Tie your dog, there is no next time. If a lot of Dharma bodies came, he would have destroyed Jian Wushuang long ago. In other words, if he encounters Jian Wushuang in the world god continent in the future, he will also kill each other. He originally hated the human race, and now he was reprimanded by a human race practitioner, which was a great shame to him. Without taking a second look, he was ready to leave directly with Beirut. Zama's has his own pride. Jian Wushuang also has it. How could he have suffered this kind of anger, and immediately disregarded the obstruction of the king, and shot directly at Zama's? A Dharma body has limited divine power. Where can it be strong? Life. The perfect sort of life, cut straight out. Well. Zama's didn't expect that Jian Wushuang dared to shoot at him, and with one hand, a wave of air flew out, directly blocking the sword. Jian Wushuang! The Realm King shouted, but this time he didn't stop it. Even a practitioner knows dignity. He is the Realm King of the Northern Time and Space. What is Jian Wushuang shooting for now? In order to keep the face of North Time and Space. If he is blocking, how can he still be in the World God continent in the future? There is Jingshu standing beside it. It's really impossible to get mixed up when it spreads out. Although it was mixed before. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath, turned his head and glanced at the Realm King, then stared at Zama's and said, "Maybe one day, I will bow my head to you gods, but it's definitely not today." As soon as he finished speaking, he used the sword again. Time and space reincarnate, gather again. This time Zama's wanted to stop, but he didn't have that ability. Because the divine power of his Dharma body has almost been used up. Originally, he wanted to use his status to forcefully take Beirut to leave the North Time and Space. But he didn't expect to be left behind by Jian Wushuang, the master of the Seven Tribulations realm universe. At this time, his face was a little embarrassed. As the god of the universe, the future successor of the king of gods, he disdains to speak harshly. Just gave Jian Wushuang a clear look, and then resolved the body of law on his own. Beirut has fallen, and he has nothing to lose. Even if God's domain is gone, it doesn't matter. I just don't want the human race to pick up a treasure for nothing. Zamas, you just left like this? Jingshu in the distance couldn't believe it. Zamas, who is one of the best in the world of the gods, would be shriveled in the northern time and space, or in the master of the universe of the Seven Tribulations realm. Shriveled. If this is spread out, I am afraid that the universe gods on the world continent will not believe it. You must know that Zamasu does not even give face to the great realm king, and is extremely arrogant and ruthless. But in the north time and space, he lowered his head. Seeing that Zamasu took the initiative to leave, Kai Wang was relieved. But what Jian Wushuang said just now shocked his breath. For a time, also felt light on his face. When he was young, he was so beautiful, but unfortunately, he was no match for the years. At this time, Beirut fell into despair. Even Zamath couldn't keep him. Now just have to wait to die. Unwillingness filled his body. His eyes stared at Jian Wushuang. You will regret it. Regret. Everyone will have regrets, it depends on their own state of mind. Jian Wushuang also had regrets, but he didn't go into it, just to make himself more tired. Chapter 60-64. What does this count for? Maybe. He faced Beirut indifferently and said calmly, maybe one day I will regret it, but unfortunately not today. Zamas was offended, and Beirut will eventually fall today. The time and space reincarnation sword directly crushed the expansion Beirut completely, the divine body became powder, and the soul was completely shattered. Completely lost. No one can save Beirut. Beirut fell, and the source of devouring in the abyss was completely lost. Those bat wild beasts are attributed to the devouring origin of the abyss. The power of the source that was swallowed also returned to the entire midstream time and space at this moment. This time the crisis is over. However, the power absorbed by Beirut entered his reincarnation. Jian Wushuang, can you hold it? The Realm King was a little worried. After all, Beirut was a demigod at its peak, and the power of the source absorbed by it was beyond the ordinary Nine Tribulations realm. Now this source has been swallowed up again, being swallowed by Jian Wushuang's time and space reincarnation. However, Jian Wushuang's devouring power can be controlled by himself. If you want to absorb it, you can absorb it. If you don't want to absorb it, stop it. There is absolutely no drawbacks like Beirut. Lord Realm, what about the Abyss God Realm? He inquired about the Abyss God Realm while absorbing the power of the source absorbed by Beirut. This matter, the Realm King has not explained to him yet. Why did Beirut come to North Time and Space? Because of Zamas? The Realm King sighed and explained, I actually know very little about Zamasu, but this abyss domain should be modeled after the abyss refined by the realm of the realm. And Zamas asked Beirut to come to the northern time and space, and he also brought the realm of the gods. I am afraid it is because of the abyss time and space. If you have time, you can go to the Abyss Time and Space to have a look, maybe it will help you. Abyss Time and Space. Jian Wushuang nodded. He had long suspected that Beirut's Abyss God realm had some connection with Abyss Time and Space. Now that he heard the king's explanation, he also reacted. The Abyss God realm in Beirut was refined by Zamas, and the Abyss space-time in the Middle Reaches was refined by the Kaiwang God. Perhaps it is for this reason that it is aimed at the northern time and space. His idea is very simple, it is pure profit. But he didn't understand that Zama's hatred for the northern time and space, and even the human race, was far from simple interests. The Abyss God domain is also for the Abyss space-time built by the King of the Realm, which is the core of the northern time-space. The purpose is to have a dazzling performance and be able to quickly take over the position of the King of God. Call. The power absorbed by Beirut, if it does not enter the reincarnation of time and space, it will not return to the origin of the middle reaches of time and space, which means that it is cheap for him. The infinite power is all accumulated in the source of the starry sky. These powers are enough to double his origin. Light up at least 3 universes again. At that time, the 7 tribulations realm is almost complete. It is not far from the 8 tribulations realm. The chance of life and death again and again has made Jian Wushuang's growth effective. If he wasn't in a hurry to return to the Qi Temple, he even had the hope of breaking through the 8 tribulations within 10 epochs. It's just that now Wuzhou has brought people back to the downstream time and space ahead of time, and they can't drag it any longer. Lord Realm King, there is nothing to do here, I and Huiqing will leave first. Wait. The king took out a ring from his arms and said with a smile, Beirut was killed by you, and the abyss you left behind is naturally also you, keep it. Jian Wushuang was a little confused, why he gave him this ring. As for the Abyss God realm, he didn't even think about it, he just wanted to understand the secrets behind the God realm. Now he knew that Zamas was doing the trick, and it had no research value. He didn't dare to think about getting this super treasure. Don't think too much, I won't be able to use this treasure. Jie Wang patted Jian Wushuang on the shoulder. Cultivation well, you don't need to worry about the affairs of the realm god continent. Jian Wushuang was stunned for a moment, then wanted to understand. This abyss god domain came from the hands of Zamas. Once it appears in the world god continent, Zamas can take it away at any time. Now that they all offended Zamas, they simply hacked the treasure. Jian Wushuang happened to kill Beirut again, and it was suitable for him. After I figured it out, I didn't shirk. After I put on the ring, I pointed out the god's realm without a master and put it into the ring. He is not Beirut and has no origin. Only then will God's domain be regarded as his origin, and he will attempt to expand God's domain to consummation and become a god himself. Such is a false god. But the combat power is much stronger than the demigods. This is also Zama's promise to Bairis Charter. Jian Wushuang has the origin of the starry sky, so there is no need to regard the divine realm as his origin, but it can be regarded as a realm treasure. Once it is cast, it covers the entire time and space, and everyone in it is shackled. Indeed a good baby. But in this field, it is not enough to deal with the starry sky that destroys life. On the contrary, it will hurt itself. He has no shackles, and has a maximum of 25 million divine powers. But there is no to death. I am afraid that it can shatter the abyss god realm. This treasure he still needs to explore and improve, can't use it easily. Then it'll be disrespectful. After accepting the abyss god realm and saying goodbye to the realm king, he took Huiqing out of the Nian mysterious realm. After losing God's domain, the Nian mysterious realm began to shatter. Scattered into the secret realm of the universe. Drifting around. There is a piece of scorched earth, that is the original Morua time and space. I am afraid that Beirut also had calculations in the original Morua time and space, but unfortunately it was too simple to die, and there was no chance to know some of the secrets of the original Morua time and space. Jian Wushuang felt a little regretful. When Beirut was beheaded, all the big men appeared. Nobody cares about a Moro plane. Even if he took the initiative to ask, the other party would not tell him. The mysterious realm of the year is broken, and without the support of the origin of time and space, These cosmos-level secret realms will no longer be a threat. This period of time will also be the outbreak period of the midstream time and space. There will be countless powerhouses rising from this. But this has nothing to do with the towers. Whoa! When passing by the relic of Morwa time and space, Hui Qing couldn't help but take the initiative to collect the scorched earth left by Morwa time and space. Perhaps it will be of some help to the Qi temple. Hui Qing put it away carefully, Ukanshu. According to his calculations, this piece of scorched earth still has some kind of causal connection with Qishan temple, and it is easy to take it away without any loss. So why not do it? Jian Wushuang didn't say much. He left the Nian mysterious realm and did not go directly to the downstream spacetime. Because there's one more thing to fix. Not a big deal either. Just to visit an old friend. Giant god race. God Frossa. There is also Foigo, who was revived in the court of 3 kings. I heard that he is now the master of the 8 tribulations realm universe. Even Frossa is the master of the 7 tribulations realm universe, and the speed of cultivation is no slower than them. Chapter 60-65. You must know that the original Frossa was just an ordinary catastrophe, and Foigo was restored to the 6th catastrophe because of his life force. It seems that there is a difference of 2 tribulations from the 6th tribulation realm to the 8th tribulation realm, but some people can be stuck here for a lifetime. Frossa broke through from the 1st catastrophe to the 7th catastrophe realm, which is also very terrifying. After all, it is the first group in the starry sky. The giant gods in the entire northern time and space are probably no more than double digits, and almost all of them can reach the 7 tribulations realm or above. This potential is truly incredible, and they have not returned to the clan. Once you return to the starry sky, you can also quickly improve again. No wonder it will be the first group. Thinking of the previous fights with the opponent, Jian Wushuang chuckled lightly. The speed of the two is extremely fast, no less than a pyramid. Now Jian Wushuang can fully display the speed beyond the cosmic level. Constantly traveling through time and space, he soon arrived at the location Frossa said. Abyss time and space. The most powerful time and space in the middle reaches. They still don't know that this time and space is refined by an extraordinary existence for the northern time and space, and it is regarded as the foundation of the northern time and space. Not to mention the middle reaches of time and space, looking at the entire northern time and space, it is the most powerful time and space. Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing appeared, and they felt a familiar atmosphere from a long distance. Before they took the initiative to step forward, Frossa and the others were already approaching. Jian Wushuang. A long distance away, a familiar voice was heard. Lord Frossa. Jian Wushuang teased. At the beginning, it was Lord God who called the other party for a long time. When they meet again, the two have reached the same level, and Jian Wushuang is much stronger than the other. Frossa, who used to be known as a god, was not too surprised. At the beginning, he felt that Jian Wushuang would become a super strong sooner or later, and it would not be a problem to surpass him. After all, mastering the power of life early, Dao Jun can be comparable to ordinary robbery. It is no exaggeration to say that he is the Dao Jun against the sky. When Frossa heard Jian Wushuang's name, his face was startled, and he said with a smile, "Just call me Frossa, now you are stronger than me. The strong are respected. That's it." Jian Wushuang didn't feel any discomfort and talked to the other side calmly. In dealing with Beirut this time, the other party has helped a lot, and let Wu Zua and others leave in advance, otherwise it will be a little dangerous. After chatting for a while, Zhuyang Immortal Venerable and others also came. There is also the Foigo who devoured the White King at the beginning. Jian Wushuang didn't say anything but extended his hand to say hello, then looked at Zhuyang Immortal Venerable. Listen to what Frossa said. Do you know a lot about the abyss? This time to find Frossa, it is not as simple as reminiscing. Even the Realm King took the initiative to let him go to the abyss, where there is obviously a means to improve him, and now Frossa is also letting him come because of this matter. The old man also knows a thing or two. If you ask who knows the abyss best in the entire middle reaches of time and space, it must be the master of the abyss. Juyang Immortal Venerable exists as the pinnacle of the 8 Tribulations realm, but he is very respectful to Jian Wushuang. They felt the battle in the mysterious realm in previous years. Moreover, Beirut has now fallen, and I am afraid it has a great connection with the person in front of him. How dare he fool around? Jian Wushuang had heard of the Lord of the Abyss for a long time, and he didn't talk nonsense. The breath of the other party was in the abyss. Gu Liang hum. He tore the space-time with one hand, and his arm instantly stretched into the space-time crack. After rummaging in it for a while, he took out the first powerhouse in the middle-level space-time, the Lord of the Abyss, with one hand. The Juyang Immortal Venerable and Foi Ego who watched this scene did not dare to breathe. Both of them are powerhouses in the 8 Tribulations realm, and Immortal Venerable Juyang is the master of the universe at the peak of the 8 Tribulations realm. Even he is not an opponent of the Lord of the Abyss, but in Jianwu's hands, the Lord of the Abyss is like a baby, ready to use can be caught. You must know that the divine power of the Lord of the Abyss is more than 15 million. For Jian Wushuang to be able to catch him at will, he must have at least 20 million divine power, and he must crush the opponent in the realm. But Jian Wushuang is only the 7 Tribulations realm. Frossa was not surprised at all. When Jian Wushuang Daojun was able to be so strong, now he is the master of the universe of the 7 Tribulations, let alone beyond the 8 Tribulations, even beyond the 9 Tribulations, he believes it. In fact, only Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing knew, and it was not so exaggerated. Mainly because of the divine domain. Using God's domain to deal with these ordinary practitioners is the most useful. In the entire northern time and space, in addition to the 3 ancient existences, Jian Wushuang can use God's domain at will. Of course, one must be ruled out. As for the existence of the ancient times, that is because the other party already has the realm of the 9 Tribulations realm. If he uses the realm of the gods, I am afraid that the 3 ancient existences can erupt with divine power exceeding 30 million. If there is one more to add, it is Hui Qing. Hui Qing's future body can barely reach 30 million divine power. Jian Wushuang himself, because of the tempering of divine power, can only achieve so much improvement. Now that he uses God's domain, he can increase his divine power to 25 million. Without using divine power, it can reach more than 15 million. In general, there are no rivals in the entire northern time and space. Surprised, the giants of the giant god race turned to look at the Lord of the Abyss. At this time, the Lord of the Abyss was the most speechless. He didn't know what happened. He was still celebrating the past with his friends and relatives, and now he was arrested. In an instant, he understood who the strange young man in front of him was. Are you the senior of the upstream time and space? Jian Wushuang saw that the other party was still honest, so he threw it aside, and said in a cold voice, "You don't have to be afraid, I just want to go to the abyss to explore in time and space, and my friends," said and pointed to the people of the giant god race. This is also a reward. They told them about Beirut before, and now they are repaying their debts. No problem. The Lord of the Abyss agreed at once. In any case, the abyss is the opponent's territory, and Jian Wushuang has to say hello no matter how strong he is. The Lord of the Abyss, who fought against Juyang Immortal Venerable for several eras, never thought it would end like this. I don't know how many treasures and secret realms have been swallowed in the abyss, also fed back to the entire time and space. As a giant clan, Juyang Immortal Venerable knows the special features of the abyss, and he wants to enter the abyss for the purpose of cultivation. Treasures are second. There is devouring in the abyss as well as feedback. By injecting one's own power into the abyss, more power will be fed back to the divine body and source. Simply put, it is an ultimate treasure land, which can allow practitioners to improve a lot in a short period of time. It is also for this reason that the Lord of the Abyss, who has been guarding the abyss, has become the first powerhouse in the entire middle reaches of time and space. The Realm King let Jian Wushuang enter the abyss, in fact, let him understand the rules in the abyss. But he himself had other ideas, and wanted to find the treasures left by Moruo's time and space. Chapter 6066. Beast Soldier. As for improving his own origin, he absorbed the power left by Beirut, and it has not been consumed yet, but he can completely absorb the power with the help of the abyss spacetime, so that his own origin starry sky can be improved again. Lord of the Abyss, let me say one more thing, and I hope you don't mind. At this time, Hui Qing interjected and let the Lord of the Abyss look over. Hui Qing's face was indifferent, but the aura on his body was not simple. The Lord of the Abyss could feel the gap with Hui Qing, and his tone was extremely polite. Senior, just say what you have to say. Abyss spacetime doesn't belong to anyone. You know its function, why do you want to monopolize it? Hui Qing's words sounded ridiculous. Of course, such a heaven-defying treasure must be enjoyed exclusively. Is it hard to contribute? Isn't it too funny? Of course, this is only a superficial view. In fact, the Lord of the Abyss really thought so at the beginning. Now that I heard Hui Qing's words, I also fell into contemplation and then explained, Senior may not know that there is a barrier between the middle and upstream time and space, and this barrier also blocks the opportunities for ordinary practitioners. If there is no such barrier, the midstream time and space will also have the pressure to face the upstream time and space. Maybe at that time I will let go of the abyss time and space. Simply put, there is no pressure in the current abyss. When Hui Qing heard it, he smiled. You are right, if there is external pressure, the midstream spacetime with the abyss may not be worse than the upstream spacetime. Tsk tisk. Jian Wushuang smacked his mouth, turned his head and said to the Lord of the Abyss, This time, I will give you a chance, and I will make an oath with you. After 10 epochs, I will take the downstream to attack. In the middle reaches, I will give you 10 epochs. If we can stop us, I will join your abyss spacetime to break the barrier of upstream spacetime. The Lord of the Abyss was stunned for a moment, and said in surprise, These seniors also look down on the middle reaches of time and space too much. Even if there is a super treasure in the abyss, it is difficult to cultivate super powerhouses in 10 epochs. At most, the overall strength can be improved. Just take it up a notch. Since you are so unconfident, then let you master the abyss for another 10 epochs. After this time, I will take the army of practitioners from the lower reaches and attack the middle reaches. Jian Wushuang originally wanted to be fair to the opponent. The contest is to forcibly take down this abyss. It's just that he doesn't have the time now, so it's set after 10 epochs. When the destruction of life is solved, he will break the barriers in the middle and lower reaches, and lead the practitioners from the lower reaches into the middle, take down the abyss, cultivate a large number of strong people, and then break the barriers in the upper reaches and enter the upper reaches. Until the entire northern time and space are unified. The appearance of Beirut and Zamas made him understand the huge gap between the northern time and space and the continent of the gods, and even the gap with the rest of the time and space. The realm king in charge of the northern time and space has lost his deity, and the protection of the northern time and space has to rely on the strength of the practitioners themselves. In the current northern time and space, there are still barriers in the upper, middle, and lower reaches, and the gap between them is too great. To break this gap, let the whole be improved. By that time, Dan Bao has almost created the secret method of resurrection, and the comprehensive strength of Bei Shikong will be greatly improved. This is what he wants to see, and it just happens to help Jinling realize the promise of the greatness of Qishan Temple again. With his strength he can do it. Of these people present, only Hui Qing and Frossa knew what he was thinking. The color of the Lord of the Abyss froze in place, not daring to speak. Jian Wushuang really wants to do this, and the Lord of the Abyss can only retreat and take the initiative to let Xian. Okay, let's go to the Abyss first. Seeing the frightened appearance of the Abyss Master, he didn't say much, and walked towards the core of the Abyss with people. The Abyss spacetime is not the largest spacetime in the middle reaches, it is already comparable to the ancient moon spacetime. But this distance, for him, is only one step away. When Immortal Jiang saw the dark time and space, his face was excited. He waited for countless years and finally got it. This time, I would like to thank Frossa, otherwise he would have reached the starry sky now. Although he can improve again when he returns to the starry sky, he wants to try his own limits. If he returns to the starry sky in the future, he can also perform better and get more resources. It's really different from the abyss of God's domain. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed when he saw the real abyss. It seems that there is a big gap between Zama's and the realm king god. Hui Qing also commented lightly after seeing it. God's domain is very far away, just absorbing a midstream time and space, there will be a load. But this abyss can maintain the entire northern time and space, which is more than a mistake. Everyone standing in the sky above the abyss can feel their own power is passing, and then feed back. This feeling is amazing. If it wasn't for Jian Wushuang who hadn't entered yet, Zhuyang Immortal Venerable couldn't help rushing in first. Let's go! Jian Wushuang didn't stop either and entered first. The people behind also followed in. In the abyss, the surroundings are dark and incomparably silent. There is no danger. According to the explanation of the abyss is not dangerous, but it has an extremely strong gravitational force. Under the calamity, one can only practice in the sky above the abyss. When he first entered, Jian Wushuang also saw that the abyss was surrounded by halls, and they should all be the powerhouses of the abyss. As for the abyss, there are very few people who go there. Without the order of the abyss master, no one dares to come in. In countless eras, only the descendants of the Lord of the Abyss are qualified to go deep. After going thousands of miles deep, gravity can already forcibly drag the Lord of the Five Tribulations realm universe into it. When we got here, there was no cultivation hall and cave. And for every 10,000 miles of diving, there is a flag. On the top are the realms and divine powers needed to continue diving. Since the era under the control of the Lord of the Abyss, the record for the deepest dive into the abyss is also the Lord of the Abyss himself, with a maximum depth of 190,000 miles. That is his limit, and the divine body will be crushed further down. In fact, the deeper the abyss is, the better the effect is. It's just that the strength is different, and the depth required is also different. Like Qi Tribulation Realm, almost 50,000 miles is the limit. It just so happens that you can practice without stress. Jian Wushuang, I will not pay you to continue on. 50,000 miles away, where did Frossa leave with a few giant gods? The rest continued to dive. After 130,000 miles, Foi Ego also stayed. There were only 4 people left. Jian Wushuang, Hui Qing, Lord of the Abyss, Zhuyang Immortal Venerable. The place where the Lord of the Abyss cultivates is to dive to 190,000 miles. And Zhuyang Immortal Venerable is similar. The strength of the two is not much different, but the Master of the Abyss who has mastered the Abyss can easily block Zhuyang Immortal Venerable by virtue of the large formation arranged around the Abyss and his own origin dojo. Chapter 60-67. If you want to seize this treasure from the hands of the Lord of the Abyss, you need at least about 180,000 divine power to do it. Call. 18,000 miles. Zhuyang Immortal Venerable also stopped, having reached his limit. Friend Wushuang, this old man can only stick to this place. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly and continued to dive with Hui Qing. After a while, the Lord of the Abyss also stayed. In the end, only Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing were left. With the blessing of Yuan Dojo, it's still a bit difficult. Jian Wushuang shook his head helplessly, and a ring of black mist erupted from the ring on his finger. Surround him and Hui Qing. Without the suppression of the supreme rules, the two of them directly surpassed 20 million in divine power and rushed towards the bottom of the abyss. Without the others, the two dived at the fastest speed. During the dive, Jian Wushuang felt a familiar aura, where has surpassed 18 million divine powers. If you want to enter this place, even if it is a treasure, you need to be the top treasure in the 8 Tribulations realm. Beast God Soldier. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up and saw a dark red mask floating in the abyss. The above also exudes the power of the Beast God. Thai noodles. The face of the beast is also called the face of the greedy wolf. It is one of the 9 great beast gods, tied with the candle dragon. I didn't expect it to be suspended here. When entering the abyss, he also asked the Master of the Abyss, the treasures the other party got from the abyss are still there, and he can pick them up when he goes out. He thought that the treasures left by Morwa time and space were taken away by the other party. It's over. In fact, Before Moruo's time and space died out, most of the treasures had long been stored in the Chi Temple. Moreover, the treasures of Moruo time and space, the artifacts that transcended the cosmos, were all acquired by Destiny, and naturally they were still in Destiny's hands. There are a few more that really fall into the abyss. He was very happy to pick up this greedy face here. After a little observation of the mind force, he found that the origin of Tai Mian had reached the perfection of 8 eons. It is a treasure that is perfect for the 8 tribulations. No wonder it appeared here. After countless years of tempering in the abyss, Tai Mian has reached the limit that the northern time and space can carry. Although it is not an artifact, it has reached the level of a subartifact. Now you have a master. As soon as the power of thought moves, he forcibly recognizes the master. Tai Mian also made a humming sound, but he still couldn't stop Jian Wushuang's control. It was finally quiet in his hands. Congratulations, brother Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was also very happy, and said with a light smile, I finally got the second divine beast soldier, and it's still a long way from getting it all together. Yes. Hui Qing nodded solemnly. He could speculate that in the future Jian Wushuang would gather the beast soldiers, but there would be bumps in the middle. This he did not say. Let's go, keep diving. He couldn't wait to get into the bottom scouting. It is said that the abyss is 1,000,000 miles away. They are still far from reaching their limit. 1,000,000 miles to the end. Without the power of the demigods, it is impossible to reach the end. However, with the divine power of the two, there is no problem in the half. After continuing to dive for an hour, they received a lot of goods. They are all treasures that are perfect in the 8 tribulations realm, but these treasures are very ordinary compared to the beast soldiers. Neither of them looked down on it, and simply did not accept it. Leave it to those who are lucky in the future. Gu 350,000 miles. 400,000 miles. 500,000 miles. Phew! Hui Qing took a deep breath. I've reached the limit of what I can bear. Jian Wushuang's brows moved. He was a little surprised. He hadn't felt any discomfort yet. How could Hui Qing reach the limit? The strength of the two is actually not much different. If anyone is stronger, it must be Hui Qing who is stronger in the future. Hui Qing's deity stopped at 300,000 miles. The future body is 570,000 miles away. Divine power exceeds 25 million. Hui Qing, your supernatural power in the future is more than 25 million. How can you be under pressure? He was puzzled, so he asked, could it be that you have discovered it? Hui Qing shook his head, glanced at the abyss below, and said indifferently, Brother Wushuang, the abyss is only for me to practice cultivation. In fact, when I was 300,000 miles, the cultivation of the deity was enough. It was just curiosity that I followed all the way to the present. Indeed, it is for the sake of cultivation, so why bother going to the bottom? Just curious. Curious what treasures are stored at the bottom. Jian Wushuang nodded and said, Okay, you are practicing here, I will continue to dive. This time the practice may not be so long. Wu Zua and the others have returned to the downstream time and space. We can't waste time. 1-1 a death. He was worried about the safety of Wu Zua and others. Still have to go back early. Don't worry, Wu Zua and the others will not be in danger. Hui Qing gave the answer after a little calculation. But Jian Wushuang doesn't think so. Destruction is not a fixed number, but a variable, and everything is possible. Still be careful. Don't stay here for too long. I'll go down and test my limit. At present, I'm likely to be close to the bottom. I'll come up after a look down, it won't exceed 100 years, and then we should leave. After parting with Hui Qing, he continued to dive. Divine power is also constantly rising. It quickly exceeded 600,000 miles. Still not much pressure, continue down. Perhaps it has something to do with the abyss of the divine realm that he controls. The more he goes down, the more relaxed he feels. On the contrary, when he was at a depth of 300,000 to 400,000 miles, he felt a lot of pressure. At that time, he had not yet used God's domain. After using God's domain, his speed kept getting faster. But only the last 100,000 miles remain from the bottom. It seems that I can really get to the end. His speed did not decrease, but accelerated again. 100,000 miles was just a blink of an eye for him. Although this place was an abyss, there was no pressure on him. Snapped. With an inertia, the figure instantly touched the ground. In the end, Jian Wushuang raised his eyes and looked around. The bottom of the abyss was different from what he imagined. The bottom of the abyss of the divine realm refined by Zamasu is a devouring source. The bottom of the abyss refined by the realm king god is flat, and there is nothing around it. After adjusting his breathing slightly, his thought power began to spread, gradually covering the bottom of the entire abyss. Jian Wushuang's eyes moved, and Nianli observed a dilapidated dojo. Mind power covered the bottom of the entire abyss. There was only one ruined dojo, and there were no living creatures. There is no breath. He also relaxed his vigilance and walked slowly. After passing through 2 huge pillars, they entered the ruined dojo. Contrary to what he thought, there were no treasures left here. If there are swallowed treasures here, I am afraid there are only artifacts. I originally had some fantasies, but now it seems to be in vain. I can only see what this dojo can help me. Inside the dilapidated dojo, it was very shabby, with only a broken dharma, and it was difficult to see its face. Chapter 60-68. But looking at the clothes, it should be a human race. Not a god, but a practitioner. At least a demigod, or a super powerful like the universe god. Looking at the appearance below, this dojo was not swallowed into this place. It was more like a glance that existed in the first place. Unfortunately, I don't have a face, and I don't know what it looks like. Looking up at the carving, he looked a little familiar, but he couldn't say that the place was familiar. The head of the statue is mutilated, and the facial features cannot be clearly seen at all, and naturally he does not know who it is. After walking around the statue, there is nothing around. There was also a hint of loss in my heart, and I was ready to turn around and leave to find an open space to recover the power that absorbed Beirut in my body. But just as he turned his head, a bright light reflected and shone on his eyes at a perfect angle. The dazzling light made him unable to open his eyes. He blocked the beam with his hand and looked intently, startling him. The head. Statue of the head. There are still cracks on the neck, which are consistent with the fracture marks on the statue, and it seems that it fell from the statue. As for the refracted beam, it came from the ears of the skull. I can't detect my mind power? Jian Wushuang was a little surprised. Just now, he explored everything in the darkness around him, but he didn't find the head. He walked slowly, and one hand had already reached the hilt of the sword of myriad tribulations behind him, but when he got close to the broken head, he realized that there was a weak restriction around him, which could block his thoughts. With just a single finger, the restriction was shattered, and an ancient breath came from it. This prohibition should be a self-protection prohibition, not an arrangement, otherwise it would not be so weak. As for the ancient breath, it should be the reason why it has been sealed for too long. Puchi. A bright light appeared in Jian Wushuang's hand, and he could see the head clearly through the light. What caught my eye was an extremely ugly face. Grim-faced and colorful, but only half. Half green face, half black face. The corners of his mouth grinned, his eyes rounded. Jian Wushuang was a little startled when he saw it. This, how does it look like Zamasu? After staring at the ugly face for a long time, he noticed something familiar. He turned his head and glanced at the statue behind him. Thinking of Zamasu's appearance, he turned his head in horror again. Picture. It's just too similar. If it wasn't for the half-black face, he would have recognized it early in the morning. It's just the sculpted appearance, too hideous, and it is difficult to connect with the calm Zamas. Zamas. After confirming it thoroughly, he took a deep breath, feeling very confused. In the abyss built by Kaiwang God, there is the Dharma of Zamas. And it seems that the law should be two people, just merged into one. How could this kind of Dharma appear here? Jian Wushuang was puzzled. I am afraid that only the realm king will know about it. After thinking about it, he didn't have any clues, so he simply didn't study this, and he didn't have time to study, so he wanted to take this dojo away. Although it was of no value, he could ask the realm king if he had the opportunity in the future. Zama's has persecuted northern time and space a lot, and perhaps from this carving, he can find some clues to avoid being persecuted by Zama's again. He was heartbroken for the north time and space. If there is a chance in the future, I have to ask the Realm King to make up for it. Wow! Gu Yuan raised his hand and put the entire dilapidated dojo directly into the mustard seed, and he nodded with satisfaction, ready to start digesting the power that came from it. But when the dojo entered the mustard seed, the fly ash was instantly annihilated. He was also taken aback, and it was too late to take it out. The stored mustard seeds were directly crushed, the mustard seeds that were broken in the hand, and the space in the mustard seeds were also broken. This kind of mustard of Sumeru he can create at will. As long as he masters the space, the Emperor can create it, but after he reaches the Master of the Universe, he has the source starry sky, and he is too lazy to get these mustard seeds, and most of the treasures are thrown away in the source, whereas the space that is much more stable than the mustard of Sumeru. It's just that the Dharma Minister has something to do with Zama's, and he put mustard seeds in for safety. Unexpectedly, after the dojo entered the mustard of Sumeru, it disappeared directly. After crushing the mustard of Sumeru, there was an extra pair of earrings in his hand. This is... Jian Wushuang didn't expect that Dharma could still produce treasures. Holding the pair of earrings, I took a closer look in front of my eyes and found nothing unusual, but thought of where the earrings came from. On the sharp ears of the head, there are such earrings. That said, the earrings are Zamith's stuff. He became interested all of a sudden, and after the thought force slowly penetrated into the earrings, he was slightly disappointed. No special power appeared, but a kind of life force. This kind of life force is very common. He wants as much as he wants. For him, it is throwing things that no one picks up on the street. It has something to do with Zamasu, so let's ask after seeing the Kai King. Now he has to quickly digest the power he absorbed. He exhaled softly. That power has been dissipated in the source. The dissipated power naturally entered the abyss. After absorbing his power, the entire abyss was shocked. Obviously, his power is a huge amount of divine power in the entire northern time and space. It is comparable to a long river of time and space. In Jian Wushuang's own source starry sky, it suddenly shrank, and the three super-universes revolved around him according to an unbreakable law. Sending out all the absorbed power, and taking out all the divine power in the body, a large amount of power began to feed back in the next moment. At the very bottom of the abyss, the purest power can be absorbed. The power that is fed back is unified, not the power that is actively swallowed up, and it is mixed. That's the benefit of the abyss. Can quickly increase strength. Origin. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists. At this moment he did not use any secret techniques, but simply used the three universes to improve his origin. One after another flickering light also shines in the starry sky. It was a star after another, and there were also black holes in the middle of the stars. Then came the secret realm. In just an instant, the framework of a universe has been formed. The fourth universe. Jian Wushuang raised his hand and pointed, and the fourth light in the starry sky lit up. The universe becomes. Then came the fifth seat. A steady stream of power feeds back on himself, making his origin soar. The first universe, he spent his whole life. The second universe is just a few epochs, and the third universe is just a few years. The fourth universe, he only used a moment. The fifth universe slowed down. Because the power of backfeeding is also weakening. It can't be as strong as the first glance. Chapter 60-69. But the speed is still not slow. According to his previous speculation, by absorbing the power of Beirut, 3 more origin universes can be condensed. Now in the abyss, it is able to gather more. These powers originally came from the northern time and space, and were absorbed by Beirut through the domain of the gods. After Beirut fell, because these powers had entered Beirut's divine body, they could not return to the middle time and space again. It was a waste to keep them, and the cheapness was given to Jian Wushuang. Now that he is in the abyss, he has exerted these powers to the extreme. The fifth universe is also slowly forming. The strength weakened again by a point. The remaining power can at least condense 2 universes. That is, the 7th universe will also be completed. However, he still couldn't sense the catastrophe from the supreme rule. It seems that the 7 universes will not work. If he senses the catastrophe, he wants to go straight to the catastrophe. Now the power in the source is extremely sufficient, and he can succeed without the primordial stone. It's a pity that the realm is still not enough, and we can only talk about it later. Fortunately, the bottle of blood power is on his body, and he can also improve his basic divine power here. After the 7th calamity, he has not yet improved his divine power. His current divine body can be said to have reached the pinnacle, and can carry more powerful divine power. 3 million divine powers are like feathers to him, and there is no difference between them. Call. Lighting up the universe, absorbing the power of feeding back. The further back, the weaker the power, and the formation of the universe is also very slow, of course. It is very slow compared with the formation speed of the 4th and 5th universes. In fact, it has been very fast, but it only took a few years to build a free ride. Today, in his source starry sky, there are 7 universes shining brightly. Connection becomes one line. There is a timeline between each universe. The long river of time and space? Jian Wushuang's eyes flickered, staring at his origin universe. The connected universe does have the shadow of the long river of time and space. According to the previous thinking, the above of the Lord of the universe is the Lord of time and space. In fact, there is some truth, but no one calls it that. The Lord of the universe, the God of the universe? He always felt that there was no difference between the two. It seems that someone deliberately does not allow them to continue to raise the source. When I was weak, I felt that the source was the most important thing, but taking the divine power route turned the cart before the horse upside down, just like chi training and body training. It is enough to train the body to the level of life-saving, or buy a battle armor with extremely strong defense. However, after arriving at the Lord of the Universe, I found that everyone was focusing on divine power and divine body, but had no interest in the source. As long as Taoism is discussed, almost everyone is saying that cultivating the source is a waste of time. It is better to directly increase the divine power, which will have a significant effect. So much so that he began to doubt himself later, but fortunately he did not give up. The source has always been stronger than the divine power. Even if the secret technique of super-eternal transformation is created, it is based on the main source, supplemented by divine power. The Starry Sky catalog is based on the origin of the Starry Sky of Kendo as its most powerful trump card. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't want to regret it later. Jian Wushuang shook his head, firming his mind. The goal must be firm, otherwise it will not be the goal. He wants to break through the 9 tribulations and become a true of space and time, not a cosmic god, with no upper limit. There is no upper limit. Why is it called the God of the universe? It's not that the source is too weak. If you create a long river of time and space, can you think that you are the king of the realm? Directly above the universe god. Wouldn't it be nice? Divine power? He waved his hand, and a powerful force entered his body. The blood color spread to the bottom of the entire abyss. Crackling! A crackling sound rang out, and the blood mist burst into particles. Jian Wushuang's face was startled, and he said in surprise, "Decompose?" Those blood-colored powers actually decomposed his divine power. The seemingly invisible blood color, but it seems to be in some kind of power game. This is the first time he has encountered this situation. I originally thought that at the bottom of the abyss, I would also increase the basic divine power, but I didn't expect to encounter such a situation. Startled him. When absorbing the power of blood, he became cautious. Just absorbing a trace, his double holes were about to burst. That kind of power is absorbed by people, and it seems that there is an ancient murderer in the body, trying to break free from his shackles. For a time, he almost lost consciousness. Frightened, he quickly spit out the power again. Don't dare to absorb it easily. Looking at the pervasive blood mist, waiting for the blood-colored power and the invisible power to compare and test. Blood mist surges. There was thunder all around. So much so that the blood fog he saw was like the thunder fog on a cloudy and rainy day, and the flashes of light inside were shocking. This situation continued for several hours before it stopped. Does the abyss not match the power of blood? He murmured secretly in his heart. The abyss was refined by the king god. The power of blood came from Siru, and Siru was created by Zamasu. In other words, the power in the abyss is at odds with Zamasu? Also unlikely. The divine realm refined by Zamasu is in his hands, and he also used it in the abyss without any side effects. Why is the abyss only not compatible with this blood-colored power? I am afraid that this question can only be asked of the Realm King, and the Realm King may not know. I am afraid it will take a long time to confirm. At least you have to go to the World God continent. Forget it, let's try to absorb some first. Looking at the calm blood-colored power in front of him, after he took the initiative to absorb a little, this time, the reaction was not as big as the last time, and he could already control it. After trying several times, he devoured it with confidence and boldness. After absorbing it, he released more blood-colored power again, and after struggling for several hours, he absorbed it again. Repeatedly, the speed of absorbing the power of blood in the abyss to improve one's divine power is indeed very fast. Before he knew it, his divine power had reached 5 million. But still not reaching the limit. He continued to improve. Time flies too fast. 30 years later, the clothes on Jian Wushuang were torn a lot, and even the clothes were shattered because of the absorption of divine power. Today, the divine power has reached 8 million. It has also reached the limit of the divine body. Clenching fists with both hands, it exploded suddenly, and the surrounding space trembled. Robbery armor! He shouted angrily, and a dark red armor appeared on his body. At this moment, the basic divine power is 10 million. Ah! He clenched his fists and glared angrily. Super everlasting change, boom. The entire abyss shook by the huge breath trembled. Now his power is 20 million. Without using the source dojo, the divine power has reached 20 million. The super eternity change is also beginning to reduce the increased divine power at this moment. But there is still a doubling of growth, and he is still very satisfied. Chapter 60-70. The super ancient transformation, the supernatural power of the increase, is based on the source. The divine power of 20 million corresponds to the limit of the northern time and space. If you use the original dojo again, in the realm of the gods, his divine power will skyrocket. Now there are 7 origin dojos of the universe, which have been able to increase by 70%. 60% of the 3 universes, 70% of the 7 universes. It doesn't seem reasonable, but it's actually quite reasonable. Because that's what the source is. This is why so many people have switched to the divine power route. No way, it's too slow. The reason why he followed the source route so firmly was actually influenced by the Qishan temple. The shock brought by seeing the origin of all things at first was too great. So much so that he firmly believes that the source is the strongest. So far he has no regrets. Clenching a fist with one hand, the power of the source is condensed in the palm of your hand. An unparalleled force erupted from him. That powerful force surprised Jian Wushuang. Powerful than ever imagined. In other words, he didn't expect that he would be so strong in the northern time and space. The source does not have any restraints, even if it is not in the realm of the gods. Easily surpass divine power. Even if he doesn't use the Starry Sky catalog, his source power can easily surpass his own divine power. It is equal to his current origin, which can exert a power that exceeds 20 million divine powers. This is still without the use of God's domain. Once you use God's domain, without the bondage, your divine power will skyrocket. The origin dojo descended, increasing the divine power by 70%. 20 million divine power, an increase of 70%, that is 34 million. Much stronger than Huiking's future body. 30 million divine power is already the combat power of the 9 tribulations realm. With 34 million divine powers, he is definitely the strongest in the 9 tribulations realm. Not top-notch, but not ordinary either. The threshold of the 9 tribulations realm is 20 million divine powers. 30 million is the normal level, and 34 million is already the strongest among them. And his power of origin. The 7 universes contain the power of 700,000 black holes. I am afraid that the universe of the universe is comparable to the power of these 7 universes. After all, most of the universe gods still use divine power and almost never follow the source route. Because it is too difficult, the same realm cannot be compared with divine power at all. Jian Wushuang has a starry sky, so the source is so powerful. If there is no extreme way, even if you master the ultimate way, you will not have such a strong origin universe when you are the master of the universe. I am afraid that at that time, he will also choose to take the divine power route. Some paths are not voluntary, but forced. The origin dojo disappeared, and his breath retreated, only maintaining the super ancient change. It's time to leave. Unknowingly, he stayed at the bottom of the abyss for decades. Time to leave. Swish. It's more troublesome when you come, but it's easier to go out, and you can quickly rush out of the abyss without using divine power. He saw Hui Qing soon after, beckoned to bring Hui Qing, and continued upward. He didn't tell Hui Qing what happened at the bottom of the abyss, because he didn't figure it out either, and it was useless to say it. Brother Wushuang, your origin and divine power have changed. It seems that you have gained a lot this time. Hui Qing couldn't help but marvel after seeing his divine power. 20 million gods. Hui Qing doesn't use his future body, it's almost at this level. It has also improved a lot in the abyss, but it is still a lot less than Jian Wushuang. If Jian Wushuang uses the Yuanyuan dojo, the ultimate power of 34 million can be exploded in the realm of the gods. Hui Qing's future body is only 30 million. It is beyond the opponent. Just a little breakthrough. Jian Wushuang replied with a light smile. The speed of the two was getting faster and faster. After a while, they saw the Lord of the Abyss. After pulling the other party, they said goodbye to Frasa and others, and left the abyss. It is not easy for the people of the giant god race to enter the abyss, and they will not come out unless they reach the limit. On the contrary, the Lord of the Abyss has been practicing here all year round, and it has not helped him much unless he reaches the 9 tribulations realm. But in the current northern time and space, there is still a long way to go before the birth of the 9 tribulations realm. At least until Danbao creates the secret method of resurrection. After the scattered cultivation can rekindle the cultivation path, the next step is to improve the overall level of life. Step by step to improve the life system of the northern time and space. Although this has nothing to do with Jian Wushuang, he is not a robbery and he is far away from the 9 tribulations realm, but after experiencing the Beirut incident, he felt that in order to protect the northern time and space, he must first make the northern time and space stronger. Of course, there is also yourself, to be more powerful. Super eternal transformation, as the fastest secret method for him to improve his divine power, needs to be innovated again. But this time, beast soldiers are needed. The beast magic weapon and the super ancient transformation are merged. Lord of the Abyss, have you sent such treasures from the abyss? Jian Wushuang took out the wolf mask he got in the abyss. The power of the dark red beast above is particularly eye-catching. The Lord of the Abyss just glanced at it, then nodded and said, "Yes, I got one in the abyss, but the breath of that treasure is similar to this mask, but the level is much worse. The one I got from is only at the level of the 7 tribulations realm, and the source has been damaged, so it is useless, so I threw it into the treasure house. Lead the way." Jian Wushuang didn't ask any more, but there was a look of joy in his eyes. I didn't expect to find one from the Lord of the Abyss. When he got the greedy mask, he felt that those beast soldiers would be at least 200,000 miles or less, but he didn't expect that there were still weaker ones. It seems to be floating above the abyss because there is no source. As soon as he collected the greed mask, he felt the same breath, and his figure stopped in midair. The Lord of the Abyss was a little surprised. But he didn't dare to say anything, he just stood by and waited quietly. Jian Wushuang used his mind power to quickly probe the same breath he had just captured. "I found it." He tore the space at will, just like when he grabbed the Lord of the Abyss. He flipped through the torn hole at will, and after a while he brought a practitioner to the front. When he saw this person, the Lord of the Abyss said in surprise, "It's you." Jian Wushuang glanced at the Lord of the Abyss and found that the other party knew him, so he asked, "You know him?" "I know, this kid sneaked into the Abyss once and was caught by me, but when I saw his potential was good, I didn't embarrass him." The Lord of the Abyss smiled awkwardly. The strength of the other party is really good. The Lord of the Six Tribulations Realm universe has 1,200,000 divine powers, and he is already regarded as the peak powerhouse in the Six Tribulations realm. Seeing that the other party was not struggling, Jian Wushuang threw him aside. The captured Six Tribulations Realm Universe Lord was stunned, seeing the anger from the Abyss Lord, and said coldly, "The Abyss Lord, you imprisoned me for tens of thousands of epochs, and what are you doing with me?" Chapter 6071. The Lord of the Abyss was a little embarrassed. After glancing at Jian Wushuang, he said, "Yi Tian, this senior is looking for you, not me." Yi Tian turned his head and glanced at Jian Wushuang. He was a little surprised. He was so young and he couldn't feel his existence. Even the Lord of the Abyss was called senior, and he reacted immediately and exclaimed, "Could it be that the senior is Nine Tribulations Realm?" The ignorant Yi Tian did not know that Jian Wushuang was still the master of the Seven Tribulations Realm universe. Jian Wushuang shook his head with a wry smile and explained himself, "Yi Xiao, I am not the Nine Tribulation Realm, and we do not have the Nine Tribulation Realm universe master in the northern time and space. A person called Tiansong exists, and he will tell you everything." "No Nine Tribulations Realm?" Yi Tian was still reminiscing about the first sentence, and then thought of Jian Wushuang's explanation, and quickly thanked, "Thank you, senior, for your guidance." It was only then that he remembered that Jian Wushuang was looking for him, so he asked, "I don't know what the senior is looking for with the junior. The boy is willing to help. I need your help with something. I don't know if I can cut my love." Jian Wushuang said very euphemistically, but he didn't. Even with so many people watching, he couldn't afford to lose that person. A little guy in the Six Tribulations realm got the beast divine weapon, and he can buy it completely. Throwing a treasure at random can make people jealous in the Eight Tribulations realm. It can be said that it is very simple to buy a treasure from a little guy who is the master of the Six Tribulations realm universe. Yi Tian's heart trembled when he heard it, and he suddenly realized that this was a forced buy and forced sale. The key is that he really has an inalienable treasure. It was the treasure of his life, and an indispensable treasure on his cultivation path. It could never be sold. Once he lost that treasure, his cultivation path would almost come to an end. No matter how strong Jian Wushuang was and how many treasures he gave, he would not betray him. But what can he do in the face of the strong? Jian Wushuang is not a fool either. He clearly sees the other party's entanglement and does not speak, waiting for the other party's reply. "This treasure, I will take everything with me today." Seeing the other party's hesitation, Hui Qing whispered into his voice at this time, "You don't have to hesitate, little friend. The treasure we want is not the treasure of your life. We just want the treasure you got from the Abyss." Treasures in the Abyss? Yi Tian was stunned for a moment, then thought of the strange thing he got in the Abyss. A blood cloak. No wind, automatic, incomparable majesty. Unicorn armor. When he first got it, because he was still the lord of the ordinary universe, the source was strong enough to activate the treasure, but he couldn't use it anymore. Because he was curious about the source in the treasure, he split the unicorn armor, leaving the source behind on the body, but the unicorn armor was robbed because of a battle. Jian Wushuang frowned when he heard the result. Secretly scolding the other party as a prodigal, "Can't you go and cultivate the source if you can't keep up with it?" Demolished? It was taken away during the battle. The origin has been stripped away, and there is probably no more aura of the beast above the unicorn armor. Where does he go to find it? If the senior is interested in that treasure, the junior is willing to give the source of it to the senior. As for the unicorn armor being robbed by a Seven Tribulation realm powerhouse in Jufeng time and space, I can't do anything about it. Yi Tian finished speaking carefully. He took out the source of the beast god. After handing it to Jian Wushuang, he stepped back again. Jian Wushuang held the blood-red source, and thought of a super treasure that the old man with horns introduced to him. Kirin, one of the 9 beasts, it's a cloak. Now only the source is left, and the unicorn armor is lost. How could I covet something from a younger generation of you? I think this treasure is enough to buy the origin of this beast god. Jian Wushuang took out a wooden box and deliberately opened the box before handing it to the other party, and introduced, "There is a heavenly ice spring orb here, which will help you to transcend the 7th calamity. I think your divine power has reached the perfect level. With this spring orb, you are 90% sure that you will succeed in transcending the calamity." Yi Tian, who had to shirk a little, heard that the success rate of crossing the 7th calamity was 90%, his eyes widened, and he hurriedly stepped forward to take it. He was so shocked that he forgot to go to Xie Jian Wushuang. It was the Lord of the Abyss who reminded him, "Yi Tian is not too quick to thank the seniors for his kindness." "Thank you, senior." Yi Tian's expression changed, and he put on a respectful face and bowed. Jian Wushuang waved his hand. He had no interest in this set, he was just doing a fair deal. There was no need to look like he was grateful. Although this world is inherently unfair, the most fair is that the strong are respected. But sometimes, after reaching a certain level, there will still be changes. For example, Hui Qing will take pity on the weak. Tong Tian Buddha fell into the devil's way in order to make a breakthrough in strength. As for himself, he didn't have too many ideas, it was just an ordinary transaction. Although it can be used to bully others, it is absolutely unnecessary. If he kills indiscriminately, he will attract countless powerful opponents. By the way, you still have to be by my side for a while. I need you to help me find a strong man in the 7 Tribulations realm to retrieve the unicorn armor. Jian Wushuang's words changed, and he continued, "But I won't let you sorry, I can give you some pointers on your practice during this time." As soon as Yi Tian heard that he was just taking the lead, he could make an abyss master respectfully and give him some pointers. This was the biggest chance he had encountered in recent years. He agreed without thinking about it. Jian Wushuang was not surprised by this. He turned his head and said to the Lord of the Abyss, "Let's go, it's time to harass you. Where? It's my honor that you can come to the humble house." The Lord of the Abyss was very humble, took the initiative to lead, and took Jian Wushuang and everyone into the other core of the abyss. It is also the lair of the Lord of the Abyss. However, Jian Wushuang didn't stay long, and after getting the treasure, he left in a hurry. The advance of Wu Zua and others made him a little worried. Because of the exposure of strength, I am afraid that it will make enough preparations for destruction. So it has to be fast. Flowing cloud boots? A pair of ancient cyan boots, containing the power of a dragon's roar, is the blue dragon among the 9 great beasts. After getting this beast magic weapon, he already has 3.5 pieces on him. The unicorn cloak is not yet complete, but it is almost there. The other party is the Lord of the 7 Tribulations realm universe and cannot be avoided. If it is an emperor, I am afraid that there is still some trouble, and Hui Qing needs to deduce it, but a master of the 7 Tribulations realm universe cannot hide. Tearing the space apart, they arrived at the Jufeng time and space almost instantly. This place is Juyang Immortal Venerable Site. Before he entered, he also informed him that he was an acquaintance no matter what. Chapter 6072. When you go to someone else's territory, you have to say hello no matter what, let alone treasures. Of course, it can't be said to be robbed, only that the property is returned to its original owner. It was the other party who robbed Yi Tian's treasures because of his strength. As Yi Tian Sr., he would it over again with his strength, which was very reasonable. The Lord of Standard Chartered? Weird name. I found him. His thought power covered the entire Jufeng time and space, and he locked the opponent's position almost instantly. On a secluded star. Still at the edge of Jufeng's time and space, Jian Wushuang was surprised that a master of the 7 Tribulations realm universe practiced on such a desolate planet. When he arrived, there was still a group of alien powerhouses living on this planet. Senior, the master of Standard Chartered, is an alien. If it wasn't for the protection of Juyang Immortal Venerable, he would have been beheaded by my strong human race. Yi Tian was talking about the Master of Standard Chartered. Jian Wushuang was a little moved. The Master of Standard Chartered that he saw was a kind old man who was carefully teaching those strong aliens how to cultivate and how to survive. Especially to survive among the strong human race. This group of aliens living in the cracks of the strong human race is far less nourishing than the upstream time and space. Because the upstream time and space look at the strength of individuals, never the strength of ethnic groups. As long as you are super strong, no matter your origin, you will be respected. But the time and space in the middle reaches are different, and it is difficult for the strong aliens to survive. It is also the giant clan like Juyang Shenzhuan who can dominate one side, change to another ethnic group and have been besieged long ago. Because the giant gods come from the starry sky. Is the first group. So it will be respected. This is also the reason why the Lord of Standard Chartered took refuge under Juyang Immortal Venerable. Go and call him over. Jian Wushuang's tone was calm. He wanted to grab it directly, but it was not easy to see the other party. Hard work. Just like him. No one pity him, but he will pity others. After Yi Tian heard it, his face was overjoyed, and he immediately rushed down. Standard Chartered! Standard Chartered! Standard Chartered! Yi Tian's voice resounded throughout the planet. The Master of Standard Chartered, who was still preaching to many different races, turned pale and looked up at Yi Tian. Also noticed Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing. Two breathless powerhouses, hiding in the void. Of course, it is just a simple concealment. If it is a deep concealment, the Master of Standard Chartered cannot detect it. But even so, if he hadn't caught it with the naked eye, he wouldn't have found it. The Master of Standard Chartered immediately stood up, and in a flash he appeared in front of Yi Tian. After glancing at Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing, he said respectfully, "It's Jian Wushuang and Senior Hui Qing. Lord Shenzhuan has already explained it. You two will come." Oh. Jian Wushuang was a little surprised. He just told Juyang Immortal Venerable that he would go to Jufeng time and space to find a treasure, but he didn't say who it was. Can this be expected? Or a reminder of the Lord of the Abyss? It should not be the Lord of the Abyss, and the two were at odds. It is even more impossible to predict. Juyang Immortal Venerable is not Hui Qing. Just when he hesitated, a familiar breath appeared from the Lord of Standard Chartered. The air of twilight lingers in the sky. Xuanwu Shield Kong. The Master of Standard Chartered respectfully held it in his hands and said, "Junior learned that Senior is looking for the same treasure and is willing to offer Shield Kong." When Jian Wushuang saw this divine beast soldier, his expression was solemn, but he didn't say anything and just called it over. After stroking the Xuanwu among the 9 great beast divine weapons, he finally understood. The main function of this beast magic weapon is to isolate everything. It can achieve the effect of Jedi Tiantong. No wonder he couldn't feel it. The key point is that he did not expect the other party to have this treasure. I'm afraid this has something to do with Juyang Immortal Venerable. Frasa knew that he had a beast soldier, and this matter should have been mentioned to Juyang Immortal Venerable, or even to the Master of Standard Chartered. So this time when he said he was going to Jufeng time and space, Juyang Immortal Venerable notified the Master of Standard Chartered and took the initiative to send the treasure back. For Jian Wushuang, it was like stepping through the iron shoes and finding nowhere to find it without any effort. Suddenly there was one more. Just an accidental delivery. This is the Huayun cloak, Qilin. The Master of Standard Chartered took out the Huayun cloak that Yi Tian grabbed and handed it over to Jian Wushuang again. Jian Wushuang had no need to hide, and nodded. "You actually know where the origin of the unicorn is in Yi Tian?" "I know. I knew it when I fought with little friend Yi Tian." This time, it was Yi Tian's turn to wonder. "Since you know, why don't you take away the source as well? I'm not a strong human race. Things are too extreme. It's not good." The Lord of Standard Chartered shook his head helplessly. Yi Tian took a deep breath and never thought that a master of the universe of the 7 tribulations would have such scruples when dealing with the master of the universe of 6 tribulations. In a world where the strong are respected, If they are all humans, I am afraid that even the son of the Lord of the Abyss will be robbed. But the Master of Standard Chartered is so humble. Jian Wushuang felt bitter for the other party, flipped through his own source, took out a mustard seed and said, "You take this, the treasure is bought by me, although it is a bit forced to sell. I sold it by force, but this treasure is of great use to me, so it can be considered as compensation for you." No, Jiang Immortal Venerable has already made a promise that he can no longer ask for the treasure of his predecessors. The Master of Standard Chartered hurriedly shied away. Speaking of which, this time the transaction was voluntary. Because Jiang Immortal Venerable promised him that in the future, all the alien races in Jufeng time and space can come under his command, and he will also give 1/10 of the domain to him. This will be an opportunity for their alien rise. It is much more important to him than a treasure of the 8 tribulations. Jian Wushuang also saw the other's scruples and explained, "I am not a practitioner of the middle reaches of time and space. You can hold these treasures and no one will trouble you." "You?" After the Master of Standard Chartered heard this, he turned his head and glanced at the little guys on the planet. He felt warm in his heart and did not delay. After taking the mustard seeds, he bowed deeply to Jian Wushuang. "If it is stuck in the throat, there are already thousands of words, and I can't say the slightest, so I can only bury it in my heart." When he got up again, the figures of Jian Wushuang and others had disappeared. He was the only one left, standing hesitantly in the void, at a loss. As soon as his thoughts moved, he glanced at the treasure in the mustard seeds, his expression changed greatly, and after looking around, he flew back to the planet in ecstasy. Jufeng is beyond time and space. "The 2 seniors, let's part here." Jian Wushuang nodded and said, "It's not the time you're missing, remember." "Remember?" Yi Tian nodded excitedly. Agreeing to his advice, Jian Wushuang also did it. "It's time to part. Go!" Jian Wushuang took the initiative to open a space-time channel for the opponent. Chapter 6073. When you reach the upstream time and space, you can go to the ancient tomb sect, or you can go to the Tiansong Palace, and just report my name. The kindness of the seniors, the juniors will remember. Yi Tian's eyes were excited, and after taking a deep look at Jian Wushuang, he turned around and entered the time-space tunnel. This time, the 2 divine beast weapons were bought from practitioners. Although it was a strong buy and strong sell, he also gave the other party enough benefits. Shouldn't hate him. At least he thought so. Originally, he was going to send it away together with the Lord of Standard Chartered, but when the other party said the promise of Jiang Immortal Venerable, he could see a ray of light in the eyes of the Lord of Standard Chartered. It is concern and faith. So I didn't mention it, I just gave the other party enough treasures. Those treasures can help the owner of Standard Chartered to fulfill his dream. "Brother Wushuang, you have changed." Looking at everything, Huiqing looked at him with a smile on his face. Jian Wushuang said with a smile, "Sometimes think about it as if we have no enemies at all, maybe we can all sit down and negotiate calmly, just like Yi Tian and the Master of Standard Chartered. The beast soldiers may also be the key to them, but they take the initiative to negotiate. In fact, the combat power is dominant, but to make them have no regrets or enough compensation, if I can dedicate my life to the extinction, I am afraid the other party will also be grateful to me." Ha! The last sentence made Huiqing laugh. In fact, there is another reason why Yi Tian and the Master of Standard Chartered are so dedicated. One is Yi Tian, and he is a loose cultivator. If you want to help each other, you still need to provide a better environment. Teacher Xuani also helped him in the same way. As for the Master of Standard Chartered, it is different. From the other side, he saw the shadow of the Realm King. The 2 have nothing to do with each other, but what they have done is enough to be admired. The Realm King did his best for the sake of the northern time and space, and even in the face of a demigod Beirut, he seemed very humble. He was insulted by the other party and did not dare to retaliate. He had to go to the rescue. The final decision was not in his hands. North time and space is already low-key enough, and there are still countless wealthy wolves staring at it. The Lord of Standard Chartered, for the sake of the same clan, is careful to deal with the Lord of the Universe in the Six Tribulations realm. The two have different identities and status, but have different experiences. That's why he wants to help each other. Just didn't say it. By the way, I just sensed the breath of the pyramid. Brother Wu Zhua and the others should not have left the middle reaches of time and space. Hui Qing suddenly thought of the breath he had just sensed and hurriedly reminded, "Come over now, we should be able to go back together." "Okay." He immediately asked Hui Qing to guide him, and he rushed to the junction of the middle and lower reaches at full speed. Where is the pyramid? It's just that the breath has been isolated from the midstream time and space. Jian Wushuang couldn't sense it. It was also performed by Hui Qing. It has to be said that with the Zen machine, the later the effect is more obvious. If this is a treasure hunt together, then Hui Qing must be offered. Simply the god of wealth. Jian Wushuang turned his head and glanced at Hui Qing, thinking of Qi Temple. He really wanted Hui Qing to deduce what happened to the Qi Temple, but he still didn't ask. Could Hui Qing have thought of such a simple thing? Either it is unpredictable because of the existence of extinction, the downstream spacetime is disordered and unpredictable. Or predict bad things. Will eventually have one. He prefers the former. Destruction is for him. Shouldn't push down the Qi Temple. After Ping Qi Temple, he doesn't have to come back. Go directly to the world god continent and continue to live. Liu Qi Temple or to keep him. Force him to fulfill his promise. Back to Qi Temple. After possessing God's domain, he can surpass the limit at any time, and the speed has naturally doubled several times. It only took a few days to reach the intersection of the middle and lower reaches. From midstream to downstream, it's easy for him. Go with the flow. Go upstream. The powerhouses in the middle reaches of time and space rarely go downstream. In the downstream space-time, there are more than 100 tributaries, but among these tributaries, there are not even the lords of the universe. The tributary where the original universe is located has no universe. Millions of epochs have passed now. There should be many masters of the universe born. Before they left, the business had become a calamity. As long as he doesn't fall, he is now at least the master of the universe of the 5 tribulations or 6 tribulations. He still recognizes the potential of the businessman. Apart from him and Hui Qing, he is definitely the most potential inheritor among the inheritors of the Qi Temple. Guarantee the realm of 5 tribulations. If you are quicker, you can reach the realm of 6 tribulations. If you had followed them to the upstream time and space, the achievements would be no less than theirs. At least the 7 tribulation realm, or even the 8 tribulation realm. Hui Qing became the realm of 8 tribulations because the goddess scattered her origin and gave it to Hui Qing. However, Shang's background is much deeper than theirs. He has cultivated millions of epochs in the upstream time and space, and with the opportunity given by the Realm King, it is not difficult to become the 8 tribulations realm. Pity. The other party was left for them. Back then, when he took so many people away, the Qi Temple faced the Temple of Destruction, and there was no strong man who could take it. If Shang also leaves, then there is no leader in Qi Temple. The 4 main hall masters are all puppets. There is no room for improvement. They are not practitioners, and they will eventually be lonely. Practitioners are getting stronger. They are getting weaker. Crossing the panting river, Jian Wushuang finally saw what the downstream spacetime looked like. Hundreds of tributaries spread to all directions. Incredibly spectacular. Compared with the midstream, the downstream has more space. It's just that there are more badlands. The tributaries are also very small. The living space is also smaller. But the overall space is the largest. 10 times larger than the midstream spacetime. 100 times larger than the upstream spacetime. A lot of space is actually not good. This will make the source power cover thinner. Downstream time and space, the reason why the start is so slow is also the reason. In the upstream time and space, the space is small, and the power of the source is relatively much stronger. In fact, there is still a way to improve, that is to refine the origin of the downstream spacetime. It's just that this is so hard. The universe gods can't do it. Not to mention refining hundreds of time and space rivers, it is difficult to refine even one. With this kung fu, it is better to light up your own universe. Jian Wushuang would not waste this time doing such silly things. Not to mention that the Realm King is willing to give up his love, even if it is an accompanying treasure, he is not willing. Only by refining the downstream spacetime and turning it into one's own origin dojo can the overall strength be improved. There is precedent for this. The northern time and space do not have it, but the rest of the time and space do. That is a special existence, and he is a superpower among the universe gods. Then he refined the origin of his time and space, his strength has reached an unfathomable level, and he is an absolute powerhouse in the starry sky. He still heard this from Weiss. Chapter 6074, Too Far Away from Him. Brother Wushuang? Swish. After Pyramid felt the breath of him and Hui Qing, he took the initiative to fly over. Wu Zhuo walked out first, and he was relieved when he saw that he and Hui Qing were all right. Why did you stop here? Hey, don't mention it, go ahead and take a look. Wu Zhuo sighed, pointed to the front and said, you will know when you see it. Jian Wushuang's figure moved, and he instantly reached the position Wu Zhuo said. Where is the enchantment of the downstream spacetime? After passing through the enchantment, you can reach the downstream. The home world is just a step away. But when he saw the enchantment, he was stunned. Originally, it should be the enchantment of spacetime condensation, but it turned black. Death's door? Jian Wushuang instantly thought of a magical sight he heard. Represents the enchantment of death. Go through and you will fall. Wu Zhuo should also know, otherwise he has already been recruited. The game played by children, Dishing actually wants to use it to calculate against me. It seems that he has not prepared much. He was only slightly surprised and didn't care too much. Death's Gate sounds scary. Actually, that's what happened. If you pass through it rashly, the life force will be swallowed up. The immediate fall of weakness. Below the seven tribulations realm, life will be dead, but it will not affect the divine power. If Wu Zhuo and others rush through, they should be isolated by the pyramid and nothing will happen. Even if you don't use the pyramid, if you pass through it, you will lose some life force at most, and then get infected with the force of death. This is more troublesome and needs to be removed carefully. If you are not careful, you may endanger the source. Wu Zhuo was not sure about this, so he stopped, mainly wanting to wait for Jian Wushuang to come along. It also has a bottom in my heart. Does he look down on us, or is he trying to cover up something? Jian Wushuang frowned, and he couldn't see through death for a while. It doesn't seem to see through. The gate of death is okay to deal with the Lord of the Universe below the seven tribulations realm, but if you want to count him, it is far worse. What do you mean? Wu Zhuo, who came over, didn't understand, and looked at him in surprise. But Jian Wushuang pushed aside the barrier and said indifferently, it's nothing, just enter. Just waiting for your words. Wu Zhuo was not polite, and walked straight in. At this time, everyone in the pyramid came out. They are about to enter the downstream time and space, and they can't sit still. Swish! When everyone entered, it was the same as when they entered the upstream spacetime. Only this time, they stood together. The first breath came from the downstream spacetime, and everyone couldn't help but reminisce. I'm back! Wu Zhuo couldn't help shouting excitedly, startling everyone. Wu Tian said angrily, I came back when I came back, why are you shouting so loudly? What? Wu Zhuo turned his head and gave Wu Tian a blank look. After walking so far, you can't shout when you come back. Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing ignored them and used their mind power to probe the entire downstream. With the naked eye, you can't see anything at all. Only by probing with mind power can we see the current situation clearly. The entire downstream spacetime was shrouded in a black fog. The smell of death. The black fog moves in spite of the wind. There is a chill in the wind. Jian Wushuang stretched out his hand to grab it, but it disappeared. He turned his head to look at the pyramid. Babata, how long will it take to go to the Qi Temple, and the journey will be smooth? I just checked the power of the mind, and I have found the Qishan Temple. There is no change, and it is still in its original position. Guzhang just outside the original universe, there is no inheritor of Qi Temple. Come to think of it, it has reached the point of shrinking. Inside the pyramid, Bab-Atta flew out, suspended in midair, and respectfully said, "Master, the distance from the Qi temple, the pyramid needs an epoch. There is no obstacle on the way, they are all practitioners below the Seven Tribulations realm, and there is no danger." Too slow. Jian Wushuang shook his head. There is no way to go too far downstream. Although the speed of the pyramid is fast, it will take an epoch. But one thing is better than the middle and upper reaches, that is, you can shuttle at will. The downstream space and time are large, and the power of the source is weak. Space and time are also relatively weak. Feel free to change. Of course, it also depends on who changes it. Everyone looked at Jian Wushuang in astonishment. The rest of the people don't know about the god's domain. Now that he has seen his divine power explode to more than 20 million, and he can change the time and space, he can't help but take a breath. I thought that Jian Wushuang was hiding too deep, and it was not revealed before. Just now, that is a divine power exceeding 20 million. Wu's voice was trembling, and he was shocked by the power of Jian Wushuang. The rest are the same. Light and shadow and backbone Luo's complexion turned pale. The gap that I originally felt has narrowed, at least to the same realm, and they are all masters of the Seven Tribulations realm universe. Why now, the gap is even bigger. Their divine power did not exceed 10 million. Jian Wushuang directly surpassed 20 million. Wu Tian couldn't help but swallowed, unable to breathe because of his power. "What are you doing? Come in." Hearing his call, everyone reacted, and walked in one after another. Originally, Jian Wushuang was preparing to keep a low profile and fly over slowly. But it was all in the downstream time and space. He couldn't wait to go back to the Qi temple to see how the situation was now. At the same time, the realm of the gods was also exposed. When everyone appeared again, they had already arrived at the Qishan temple, which they were familiar with. Great Wilderness. At the intersection of Desiyu and Tongtian Buddha realm, the Qishan temple is located here. Remember back then? Once upon a time, the situation was turbulent. He and Huiqing were hunted down by an army of hundreds of millions. In the middle of Wanjun, Jian Wushuang killed from north to south, and took Huiqing to escape the siege. Because of a piece of Bodhi tree, stepping into the ranks of spiritual practitioners, he has awakened to the journey of the starry sky and mastered the ultimate path. After breaking through Dian Immortal, Huiqing also made 9 turns in one step. They all have their own way. Now step forward from the beginning. Looking back, it was yesterday. Don't lose a lot of this. The original universe has also changed a lot. Especially around Qi Shrine. Because it is very close to Qi Shrine. Plus the threat of the Demon Lord. De Shiyu is gone. Tongtian Buddha realm is gone. It was empty all around. In the depths of De Shiyu, the place where all the memories of Jian Wushuang were hidden also disappeared. That was everything he had ever been. There's nothing left now. In the distance, there are only war fortresses, and countless army of practitioners are staring at the Qi temple. These practitioners are all downstream local practitioners. After entering the downstream time and space, he found that hundreds of time and space were occupied by the Temple of Destruction. Chapter 6075. Naturally, the practitioners of the entire downstream time and space have been cultivated into their own minions. It's also ridiculous. These cultivators were actually besieging the Qi temple under the slogan of killing foreign cultivators. As everyone knows, the Temple of Destruction will really destroy the world. From a long distance, he felt the power of death emanating from the Temple of Destruction, which was interfering with the origin of the entire downstream space-time and eroding the entire downstream origin. This is a cancer. Just as everyone was recalling, an angry shout came from a distance. The strong man of Qi Temple has come out. Follow me to kill the rebels. In an instant, a group of cultivators rushed in this direction. A team of 10 people, 1 from the second tribulation realm, and 9 from the top. These people are all practitioners in the downstream time and space, and even practitioners in the primitive universe. Now he has to attack Jian Wushuang and others. A nameless anger surged up, Jian Wushuang's eyes widened in anger, and the time and space stopped at a glance. The entire void began to die. Those cultivators who rushed to kill did not notice that their bodies were disappearing. It was not until he completely lost consciousness that he knew that he had fallen. Boom! The still space was shattered in an instant. At the edge of the void, a huge human face appeared. He glanced at everyone, and finally looked at Jian Wushuang. "You're finally back." Awaited, far away. Breath collision. After repeated attempts, the fighting intentions of both sides reached their peak. There is no one who is so interested in Jian Wushuang than destiny. "Don't worry, take your time." Mie Sheng's voice spread throughout time and space. "The day you return is the day when my Temple of Murdering the World will launch a general attack on the Temple of Qi. If you are still the same as before, make a small head. Turtle, then hide in Qishan Temple and never come out." This time, Jian Wushuang did not evade. He stared blankly at Mie Sheng and shouted loudly, "I'll be waiting for you." The curtain rises at this moment. The true spirits in Qishan Temple could not believe that Jian Wushuang and the others had returned. A series of familiar figures brought tears to his eyes. How many years? Era after epoch passed, and he was about to give up. Fan Tianfeng, who was the first to return, has been dead for an unknown number of years. He thought that others would come back soon. But he was afraid to come back and follow in Fan Tianfeng's footsteps. Heart has been tangled. Now that I see Jian Wushuang and Mi Sheng's toughness, I also have confidence in my heart. He waited too long for this moment. Jian Wushuang was a little curious about why Mie Sheng was afraid of him hiding. When he hid in Qishan Temple at the beginning, it was because of his lack of strength. At that time, Mie Sheng had just recovered, and his strength was not very good. It's been all these years. How could extinguishing gods still be afraid of him hiding? Is Qi Temple really that strong? Can you stop death? He was a little unsure, so he had to ask Jinling. Destroyed and retreated. The true spirit appeared. Thinking of the scene of farewell at the beginning, how similar it is to this time. One will succeed in a million bones. The true spirit does not believe. Jian Wushuang didn't believe it either. This time they came back completely. If it hadn't been for Fan Tianfeng to come back privately, plus Zhenliang had changed too much in Wanlu Shenmu and didn't want to return. He can bring people back together. But enough is enough for now. After returning from his studies, he vowed to be a dragon slayer. Came back. After the meeting, Jinling was not so excited, and some were just bitter. Can watch Jian Wushuang and others come back alive. He was very happy. This is the biggest support in his heart over the years. Jian Wushuang and the others did not return for a day, so he had hope. It's back. Everyone said at the same time. Gu Yan Jinling wanted to laugh, but there were tears on his face and his voice was hoarse. Just come back and save me. Walk home. Going home together, everyone couldn't help but sigh. In the upstream space and time, there has never been a sense of belonging. Right now, this is home. Jian Wushuang's former home could not be defended, and now only the Qi Temple is left. Qi Temple opened wide. Everyone followed Jinling back to the most familiar place. For secret realms. A lot has changed. There are more people. There are more strong ones. Originally, the Qi Shrine and the Destruction Shrine were in a split situation. Later, the front line continued to shrink and finally shrunk together. All entered the Qi Temple. It just hasn't brought everyone in. After entering the special treasure of Qishan Temple, the Lord of the Universe can no longer improve. Fortunately, the original Master of the Universe brought all the universe to the Qishan Temple. Otherwise, in the outside world, it will definitely be destroyed by the powerhouses of the Temple of Destruction. Tomb God Mountain. Jinling took them to the Tomb God Mountain first. Where you left? In front of the tomb. As before, everyone offered incense and worshipped. I knew you would come back, and I've finally been looking forward to today. After Jinling recovered his emotions, he resisted and said excitedly, "Do you know how many years I have waited for this day?" He looked back at the crowd and said word by word, "I've waited for 5 million epochs, and am just waiting for today to blow the horn of a counterattack." Jinling waved his hand. A huge map appeared in front of everyone. "Look here." He pointed to a red mark and said, "This is the location of the Temple of Destruction. Around the red mark, there are many dark red marks. Obviously they are all huge war fortresses, waiting for them to clear. When Fan Tianfeng came back, I was very happy. I pointed it to her at first, but unfortunately she never came back." Zhenling sighed. "If he never returns, he will die in battle. Well, I don't want you to follow in her footsteps." Zhenling shook his head and said, "This time, you must be fully prepared, and it's time to tell you all the secrets of Qishan Temple, because this is the last chance. Jian Wushuang and others are the greatest support of Qi Temple. Zhenling should also let go." He turned his head to look at the crowd, and listed out the past and present life of Qishan Temple one by one. Qi God. Since the beginning of its fall, the source of this Qi Temple has been refined. Why refine? Everyone knows this is to make the inheritance of Qishan great again. Actually not. There is another reason. That's to guard against one person. Extinct. Qishan cooperates with Dishing. This is true. Over the years, Zhenling has also found useful information from it. But why guard against it? Since they have all cooperated, why should they guard against the destruction of life, and even create a real spirit incarnation? A true spirit that is different from Qishan's character and even the future he has planned. Isn't that tripping yourself up? True spirits doubted themselves. At first, he almost took refuge in annihilation. However, he got the answer from the inner demon. The inner demon that Jian Wushuang captured at the beginning changed everything. Qi God. One, not one. Differing. This is the reason why the Qidu tribulation failed. People have two sides and they all know this. But no one can cut both sides. But Kisame did it. He cut out his greedy side. That is the way of devouring. His good side was left to the Qi God Temple. Chapter 6076. He took the Qi Temple as a way back. So it will prevent death. To the point of destroying life, it is impossible to enter Qishan Temple. The other side cooperates with Dishengsheng in order to devour oneself. Although cut but never give up. 3 demon lords. Shanjun, Gujun, Demon Jun. It can also be merged again. This is his cooperation with Disheng. It was for this reason that Miesheng took Shanjun and others away. Press treasure on both sides. Evil. 2 rape. For Qishan, whoever wins is the same. In the end, he was the biggest winner. After successfully destroying life and mastering reincarnation, Qishan can be completely revived. If Zhenling wins, then he will continue his path, and Qishan Temple will definitely be great again. The most important thing is that he knows that destroying life is the of death. Then it is the God of life who defeats the annihilation of life. Death consumes life and creates reincarnation. The end of life and death can also create reincarnation. Always win. Simply win. Everyone nodded. It's really the roaring dog who recognizes the master. Open my eyes again. Wu Zue couldn't help exclaiming, I didn't expect the master to be so perfect. I really admire it. Zhenling sneered, don't look at who it is, otherwise I can be so smart. I inherited the wisdom of Qishan. Unlike the 3 major devils, all of them are stupid and now they are all. He was talking about his excitement, but when he thought of the relationship between Jian Wushuang and Shanjun, he couldn't say more. What is the strength of the Temple of Destruction? Jian Wushuang didn't care about this, but asked about the Temple of Destruction. As for the matter of Qishan, he had already guessed 7 or 8, but now he heard it as if he had not heard it. The only thing that surprised him was that Qishan was able to prevent death by himself. Is this still a half-step 8 tribulation realm? Able to block the true of the stars? Simply incredible. I am afraid there is an unspeakable secret, but unfortunately the true spirit does not know it. He was really curious about how to restrain a true of the stars. When Zhenling heard him mention this, he beckoned everyone to say it in a different place. There is no change from the past, and it is still on the top of the tomb god. Inside the Guanyun Pavilion. The people are seated. Swish. They had just sat down when a familiar figure descended, with a strange woman. Business. Jian Wushuang stood up with a smile on his face. Dong Sheng and Wan Yan also got up together. They were both old acquaintances. Long time no see. Hui Qing also got up to greet him. On the contrary, Wu Zuo was a little swollen. He glanced at Shang with his legs crossed, then turned to look at the strange woman next to Shang, and said in surprise, "I have never seen this fellow Taoist with such a strong strength. Could it be the inheritance of the second generation?" By cough cough. Zhenling coughed dryly. If it wasn't for the sake of Wu Zuo's return, he would have to slap the other party's head, restrain the thoughts in his heart, and said indifferently, "Shang, you first introduce, come on." As millions of epochs passed, Shang became more and more introverted. This has always been the case in the past. Now that so many years have passed, it has not changed at all, and it is still so calm. He is also the leader of the practitioners and the pride of the inheritors. Seeing Jian Wushuang's return, he changed his normal state and his eyes were full of excitement, but he still pressed his excitement and said solemnly, "Her name is Luo. She is the Taoist companion and the master of the Vermilion Bird Palace." Lo! The lord of the Vermilion Bird Palace. Taoist! Jian Wushuang could see through the opponent's strength at a glance. The peak powerhouse of the Seven Tribulations realm. Very young. Through a trace of cause and effect, he saw the other person's life. In fact, the time of cultivation is not as long as they are. Gu Yun, she came from another time and space. At the beginning, the Qi temple expanded all the way and occupied several tributaries. It was at that time that Shang also met Luo. At that time, Luo was already the master of the universe. She first competed with Shang, and then the two came together because of Taoism. "I've seen you all." Luo slowly bowed his body, revealing a smile. "It looks absolutely beautiful." Seeing this scene, Wan Yan thought of her Taoist companion, and her heart sank. "Xia Jian Wushuang, I have seen my sister-in-law. Under the original universe, Dong Xing. Under the original universe, Wan Yan. In Xiatongshan Buddha realm, Hui Qing. That's why they are so polite." The rest of the people signed up. After getting to know each other, Zhenling gave Shang a wink, indicating that it was time to start. About the Temple of Destruction. Shang began to talk about the Temple of Destruction. From the moment they left to the present, everything has been said. When Jian Wushuang and the others just left, the number of powerhouses in the Temple of Destruction was similar to that of the Temple of Qi. But at that time, the Qishan Temple had already developed for an era. The Temple of Destruction has only just begun, and it will be able to draw a tie with the Temple of Qi. The gap then widened. While the Qi Temple is still fighting for those resource points, the powerhouses of the Temple of Destruction are practicing in seclusion. The number of strong people doubles in almost every epoch. When the gap was the biggest, the devil was born. 6 Tribulation Realm Powerhouse. Almost destroyed those sect forces outside Qi Temple. Fortunately, business breakthroughs are also fast. From the 1st Tribulation Realm to the 6th Tribulation Realm, it only took a few epochs. This is beyond the crowd. It also made everyone look at Shang again, not so arrogant. They all have the opportunity bestowed by the Realm King. Merchants are fighting for their lives. The devil! Shang Ren sighed. When the devil came, we. The words behind are heavy. Even Wu Tian also leaked respect. The original battle. Many people have fallen. Many of them are their friends. For example, Ji Chaoyang. Ji Chaoyang, who had just become the Lord of the Universe, buried himself in order to cover the retreat of the Emperor. The body was torn apart by the devil, and even a corpse capital was not left behind. When Hui Qing heard this, he folded his hands together and silently recited the Buddhist scriptures for Ji Chaoyang. In front of me, I also recalled how I got along with each other day and night. The demon lord broke free from the suppression of the primordial universe, and the strength of the Temple of Destruction completely surpassed the Temple of Qi. Later, Shang reluctantly resisted. The battle lines are also shrinking again and again, until it shrinks to the inside of Qishan Temple. What is the strength of the devil now? He saw that both Shang and Luo were the masters of the Seven Tribulations realm universe, and Jinling also regarded them as successors, and their strength was not weak. Can this stop the devil? It doesn't make sense. Could it be that the demon lord merged with Shanjun? Shang also saw Jian Wushuang's surprise and explained, "The most terrifying enemy of the Temple of Destruction is not the demon lord, but Broly and Jiang Shang. These two people are the same as Shang and Luo in Qishan Temple. But he is stronger. It has reached the half-step 8 Tribulations realm level. In addition, there are 10 demon generals in the Temple of Destruction. Each has the top combat power of the 7 Tribulations realm. On the other hand, in the Qi Temple, there are only 2 lords of the 7 Tribulations realm universe. There are not many masters of the universe in the 6 Tribulations realm." Chapter 6077. This gap is really too big. But for Jian Wushuang and others, the so-called powerhouses of the Temple of Destruction are not worth mentioning at all. In the 7 Tribulation realm, there is not even an 8 robbery realm. There is no need for Jian Wushuang to take action. Any of them can crush the entire Qi Temple. What Jian Wushuang is really worried about is death. Not interested in these minions. There is no 8 Tribulations realm? Wu Zua frowned and sighed. I thought there was something extraordinary out of the Temple of World Destruction. It turns out that there is not even an 8 Tribulations realm. That's too boring. Seeing Wu's was beating, Jian Wushuang and the others didn't say anything. It's not quite what they thought. Mie Sheng is also a true of the starry sky, and he has not even cultivated the 8 Tribulations realm. Some are beyond words. Given a few million epochs to the realm king, the 8 Tribulations realm will be able to cultivate a group. There is no shortage of treasures and inheritance even in death. Why didn't even the 8 Tribulations realm appear? Jinling felt a little embarrassed. It seemed that they were rubbish. They couldn't even solve the 7 Tribulation realm, let alone the 8 Tribulation realm. Especially seeing the disappointed expressions on Wu Zua and others' faces made him even more uncomfortable. I understand, each of you has unique skills, and you don't care about your opponents below the 8 Tribulations realm, right? Jinling glanced at everyone and said eagerly, "Tell me, how are your strengths now?" In fact, there is no need to ask. He can also see that everyone is unusual. In particular, Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing could not see through at all. They were at least half a step in the 8 Tribulations realm, and even comparable to the super powerhouses of the 8 Tribulations realm. The same goes for Wu Zua and the others. Each of them exudes the aura of the 7 Tribulations realm, and their divine power fluctuates over 2 million. Shang and Luo also looked at everyone curiously. Both of them are the masters of the 7 Tribulations realm universe, and they can also see that everyone is different. Cough cough. Wu Zua coughed twice, cleared his throat and said indifferently, "It's normal, I just got some inheritance and became the master of the universe in the 7 Tribulations realm." I'm ashamed to say that Shang didn't go to the upper time and space. All being able to become the masters of the 7 Tribulations realm universe, it seems that we are a bit like eating dry rice. Brother Wu Zua is too polite. Although everyone is the master of the 7 Tribulations realm universe, but I can see the difference in divine power. Shang was very modest, but seeing everyone's calm expressions, he also had confidence in his heart, this time really going to succeed. The rescue soldiers who had been waiting for countless years finally came. It is imminent to remove the Temple of Destruction. Luo was also very curious. She could see that everyone was the master of the 7 Tribulations realm universe, but she couldn't see through their divine bodies, and everyone felt like a majestic mountain and could not be peeped. It is obviously the same level, but it feels a lot different. Especially Wu Zua and Wu Tian, just seeing each other with the naked eye is like seeing an abyss. As for Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing, they have both reached the ultimate restraint, but they feel that their temperament is unusual and there is no trace of divine power at all. The same is true of the true spirit. Although he is the controller of the Qi Temple, he can see at the most that Wu Zua and Wu Tian have different divine powers. Hui Qing couldn't see anything. Either they surpassed them too much, or they practiced some kind of secret technique to cover up their breath. Okay, let's not talk about this for now. It's a great blessing for me to come back to the Qi Temple. Today, I want to talk about the death of life. I have already asked Long Yi to prepare a dinner party, and we must celebrate it. Ling has an unprecedented ease, and his complexion is much better. Haven't felt this way in years. Although the threat of annihilation is still there, within a day or two, Jian Wushuang also nodded and said, I don't know how many of those familiar faces are still alive. There are indeed very few inheritors of your group. True Spirit's eyes glow. The venue for the banquet was in the heaven, not the tomb god mountain. Guju, this place is also not suitable for the wind. Back to heaven again. Looking around, it has already been turned upside down. Yuanyang Palace is still there. It's just that those people are gone. Today's Yuanyang Palace has surpassed the 4 halls and has become the #1 force in Qishan Temple. Even the inheritors of the tomb's sacred mountain can't compare. Because the threshold of the inheritor has been raised a lot, although there are many strong people, but the number is rare. Yuanyang Palace, on the other hand, took the route of being taught without distinction. At the beginning, it recruited disciples in the downstream time and space, and went out of a lot of calamities. The current palace lord is Luo. Luo is also the Yuanyang Palace that he entered. Shangzhe is the leader of the Tomb God Mountain and the leader of the entire Qi Temple. As for the 4th hall, the organization has long been disrupted, and the original puppet hall masters all retreated behind the scenes, doing some trivial things. Today, the 4 hall masters are the masters of the universe of the 6 tribulations realm. Even the hall master of Yuanyang Palace is in the 6 tribulations realm. Everyone went to Yuanyang Island and entered the main hall. There are a lot of familiar figures on both sides, but most of them are unfamiliar faces. After all, it was only an epic at the time. What follows is the precipitation of millions of epics. Among the familiar figures, most of them are ordinary robbery realms, and some are emperors. Under the washing of millions of epics, there have been the lords of the universe, and there are also disappointed ones. When they saw Jian Wushuang and the others returning like heroes, there was light in their eyes. A beam of light shone on the face of the first generation of inheritors. Prove that they lived through those years. The inheritor who came all the way from the original star. I have experienced all kinds of adventures in the 4 secret realms, as well as the threat of the Temple of Destruction. Sharpen the light on them. These lights appeared on Jian Wushuang and others. Wan Xing, it would be great if you were still alive. After seeing the brilliance of Jian Wushuang and others, a lonely woman thought of the Daojun Wan Xing who was side by side with Jian Wushuang and others. Unfortunately, it has fallen. In addition to these frustrated old inheritors, there are also some young inheritors who are hesitant or resentful, and even second-generation inheritors. They are not optimistic about Jian Wushuang and others. Is this the people that Lord Jinling is waiting for? The strong man in the 4 halls couldn't help but whispered, Why do I feel that their divine power is very ordinary? No, they are suppressing divine power. I think the weakest among them are in the 7 tribulations realm, similar to the palace master. No wonder Lord Jinling waited so long and kept talking about them. It's really extraordinary. The young inheritor saw the extraordinariness of Jian Wushuang and others. That invisible coercion was by no means an ordinary powerhouse. Above the temple, the 6 main halls of Yuanyang Palace and the 4 main halls are divided on both sides. Each is a super powerhouse in the 6 tribulations realm. It can be regarded as the top 10 demon generals who are benchmarking against the Temple of Destruction. Chapter 6078. The 2 themes above are Shang and Luo. This surprised Jian Wushuang. Looking at the posture, Shang and Luo had already emptied the true spirit, and there was no place for the true spirit seat. Shang, as the successor of Qi Temple, is also the successor. Sitting in the main seat naturally doesn't have much opinion. Unexpectedly, Luo also has such great power. Everyone take your seats. After arriving in the main hall, Shang also showed his status and immediately waved his hands to signal everyone to take their seats. Zhenling stood above the main hall, not taking a seat, just smiling at everyone. Just looking around, Jian Wushuang understood the current pattern of Qi Temple. The inheritors were disrupted to form forces. The 4 major halls are still the same as before, but they are only controlled by the inheritors. Then there was Yuanyang Palace, which, like Zhenling's plan, was built into a force that was not weak but would overwhelm the 4 halls. Finally, there is the Mountain of Tombs. The Tombs Sacred Mountain, which is led by businessmen, also has several superpowerful people, which can be regarded as the power of businessmen. They were standing behind Shang, the 7 lords of the universe, each of them at the peak of the 6 tribulations realm. Not weak, those hall masters. Jian Wushuang looked around and nodded slightly when he saw some familiar faces. Brother Wushuang, the old man of Zhenling, is not going to be empty. Why is he not even qualified to serve at the table? Wu Zhuo quietly voiced his thoughts. Zhenling handed over the Qi Temple to Shang, which was within their expectations. Over the years, Shang has also been in the front, so naturally everyone has no opinion. And going out to see the scenery outside, in fact, there is only kindness to Qishan Temple, and there is no fighting like in the past. You too underestimate the true spirit. Jian Wushuang shook his head gently and sighed. At the beginning, he also saw some tricks, but now he understands it. The joy and anger of the true spirit are all on his face. Judging from his relaxed and contented appearance, he knew that the Qi Temple was led by Shang on the surface, but it was definitely controlled by the true spirit behind it. Don't look at those puppets, but Shang's will is even more obedient than those puppets at the beginning. It's character and it's hard to change. Moreover, Zhenling is still a master of Shang. How could it be overridden? And now the Qishan Temple can be said to have endless external troubles, and there is still the mind of infighting. Just as he thought. After Shang sat down, he only introduced Jian Wushuang and others in general, and then took the initiative to introduce Jian Wushuang and others to some of the powerhouses in the Qi Temple today. After some general expressions, he finally looked at Zhenling, obviously waiting for the true spirit to speak. Cough, cough. Zhenling also understood that it was time to speak by himself. He had the most careful thoughts, so he stayed at the end. After Jian Wushuang and others got acquainted with the current powerhouses in Qishan Temple, he started his own performance. I've waited for countless years for today. But he also has scruples. I am afraid that Jian Wushuang and others will change their minds. Everyone, taking this opportunity, I want to announce one thing, a major event related to the inheritance of my Qi Temple. As soon as these words came out, everyone looked at the true spirit. Jian Wushuang also gently put down the wine bottle and looked at Zhenling, wanting to see what tricks the little old man was going to play. True spirit's suspicion, he knows it. At the beginning, because of Teacher Zuanyi's words, he almost killed him. I have always wondered who would destroy this long river of time and space. In the end, I found out that it was me. Sorry to mention it later. Now that they are doing such a thing, I am afraid that they are not willing to contribute. Pattern. It can only be said that the pattern of Zhenling is small, or that the pattern of Jian Wushuang and others is large. They were able to run over so far, and they never thought about avoiding anything. Guli, even if Zhen Weiyang chose to stay in Wanlu Shenmu, it was not because he was afraid. But it has its own circle and can't jump. No one knew what Zhen Weiyang had endured at the time. In an unfamiliar world, there is no sense of belonging, and the heart of Tao is shaken. Make the past a dream. So he didn't embarrass Zhen Weiyang, he just persuaded him a few times. Finally give up. Respect other people's choices. But for those who can choose to come back, no one is afraid of danger. At least the threats that the true spirit said were not worth fearing at all. Master Zhenling, if you have anything to say, even if you speak, we are the inheritors of the Qi Temple. Jian Wushuang took the lead in expressing his position when he found Zhenling looking at him. His determination has always been firm. Wu Zhuo and others also nodded and looked at Zhenling. Seeing that everyone had no opinion, he ignored the strange eyes of the second-generation inheritors. After a pause, he said, I have decided to open up the position of God Lord today. God Lord. The physique established by Qishan at the beginning. Although the Qi Temple has cultivated a powerhouse no less than the original Morwa time and space over the years, it has not established a new position of God Lord. Now suddenly want to open up the position of God Lord. Many experts in the hall were surprised. Jian Wushuang and the others didn't know the reason, they were just curious, they didn't feel anything wrong, and they weren't so eager for the position of God Lord. But others don't think so. Because the Sea of Origin of Qi God Temple has always reserved the position of God Lord. Once you become God Lord, you can put the source universe into the Sea of Origin of Qi God Temple. This is what they thought. With the birth of the universe Sea, the source will continue to improve. It can be said to be the perfect assistant treasure. But this place is limited. I didn't bring it up before because once the death was overwhelmed, the high key temple of the source could be escaped. But Jian Wushuang and the others came back, and they already had the confidence to fight, so there was no need to escape, so they had to open up the position of God Lord. God Lord? Jian Wushuang doesn't know, but Wu Zhuo knows. Even if he has a lot of knowledge in the upstream time and space, he is a little tempted to hear the position of the God Lord. Luo, who was sitting next to Shang, was also extremely shocked when she heard it. She was already the co-owner of Yuanyang Palace, and Yuanyuan also resided in the Sea of Yuanyuan. Naturally, she didn't think too much about the position of the Lord of God, but at this time the true spirit announcing this matter is obviously because of the return of Jian Wushuang and others. She is regarded as the inheritor of the second generation. In fact, she only has awe, not respect, for Jian Wushuang and others. Because these years, they are guarding Qi Temple. Why should the position of God Lord be given to Jian Wushuang and the others? This is also normal. No one is so selfless. How many people have died over the years? Only they know. Now it is proposed to open up the God Lord, so who is it for? There is nothing wrong with the true spirit starting from the overall situation. He just wanted to protect Qi Temple. Those who fell, he remembers. Opening up the God Lord will witness the greatness and splendor of my Qi Temple again. This is the rule that was set at the beginning, and it's time to open it today. Zhenling said and pointed out, and the hall changed instantly. All the people in the hall were transported to the tomb of the gods. Qishan Dojo. Everyone is familiar with this place. Because those who are qualified to enter the hall are either the Lord of the Universe or the extremely powerful Emperor, and they have all been here. Chapter 6079. Been here at least twice. Once is the time to inherit. One time was when a super powerful person fell in Qishan Temple. When they came here, everyone was in awe. Same with Jian Wushuang. Because behind the Qishan Dojo, there is a big mountain. Or it was a tombstone. There is a picture above. Many of them are acquaintances. There are Wanxing, Ji Chaoyang and their contemporaries. There are also those emperors who were revived at the beginning. Among them, Yang Sanmu, who was kind to Jian Wushuang, was the first group to fall. There is also Emperor Qiu, as well as the fifth-order emperors of the original universe. Such as the gods. Too much. The portraits are their highlight moments on the battlefield. The true spirit brought them here, and many people's eyes were red. Look at it. Zhenling pointed to the countless portraits and said with trembling lips, "They can't die in vain, they can't die in vain." Jian Wushuang understood the meaning of Zhenling at this moment, and whispered, "No way. It won't die in vain." Zhenling took a deep breath, turned to look at the crowd, and said, "Today, I don't want to mention the war, but seeing your appearance, I have to say that the Qishan Temple is at stake, and the position of the God Lord has to be Li, because they are the only hope of the Qi Temple. If they fail, the first person to fall will be the God Lord, then you, and I will bring you to sleep forever. Even if I fail, I will not let Miesheng step into the Qi Temple. Half a step. Lord Zhenling, you think too much." Wu Zhuo wanted to tell the true strength of Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing, but was interrupted by Zhenling. He turned his head to stare at Wu Zhuo and shouted, "Shut up!" This angry shout reminded Wu Zhuo of those tragic years, and he was so frightened that he didn't dare to say more. "The position of the Lord of God, I will personally open it up today. If you have any complaints, you can come to me." Zhenling's words were very firm. In fact, at this time, it is necessary to say nothing and not be so scrupulous. However, Jian Wushuang is not the kind of person to sit back and enjoy. Lord Zhenling, no merit will not be rewarded. I don't need the position of the Lord of God to prove anything, and it will not be too late to open up after I take down the source of death. Shan, I agree with Brother Wushuang. Hui Qing's eyes were clear and he stood side by side with Jian Wushuang. Wu Zhuo also shook his head at this time and said, Me too. The rest are like that. This scene made many second-generation inheritors reveal their respectful eyes. Zhenling's eyes were full of light, and he said excitedly, You guys have really grown up, but it's just the position of God Lord. If Lord Zhenling insists, why don't you give a name first and then talk about the development later? Jian Wushuang did not expect Zhenling to be so determined, so he made a compromise. Anyway, he didn't look down on the cosmic sea in the Qi Temple. At the beginning, he didn't care much about the cosmic sea as big as the Wanlu Shenmu. How could he look at the cosmic sea in the Qi Temple? Even if the entire Qishan Temple's cosmic sea is swallowed up, it will not improve much. What's more, he really wants to be cheeky, and I'm sorry for those fallen inheritors. Open things can be delayed. He also knew the original intention of Zhenling, because he was afraid that they would not do their best, or run away after seeing the strength of the Temple of Destruction. So I want to tie them to Qishan Temple. Because of the example of Zhenluyang, he also knew that the original oath had no effect. I'm worried that someone won't do anything. It is also hard work. Jian Wushuang saw what he did, and saw that the true spirit was helpless. He didn't say anything but only promised the true spirit again. He will do what he promises. In fact, looking at Zhenling now, I think the other party is also very good. It's like an old man pulling a bunch of kids. Now that the children have grown up, the old man is afraid that the children will ignore him, and he will be full of flaws. Pitiful. Zhenling stared at his small eyes, spun around, flashing light to look at Jian Wushuang and the others, and said reluctantly, Since you are so insistent, then first establish the position of God Lord, and I will open it up for you from the Sea of Cosmos in the future. Origin. Everything is determined by merit. Yes, take credit for it. Everyone nodded in unison. In this way, those second-generation inheritors no longer have any objections. Because they have already accumulated a lot of credit points, unfortunately, there are not many treasures in Qi Temple, and they dare not exchange them. Even the necessities are exchanged carefully. I was thinking about Qishan Temple in my heart. Then it will be determined by merit. After the real spirit made a decision, he continued, But you are the most dazzling inheritors of the Qi Temple. You can't be unknown, and the position of God Lord will be held by you first. In the end, someone deserves more credit than you, so don't blame me. Ha! Wu Zhuo couldn't help laughing. Don't worry, we won't be surpassed. The crowd relaxed. At the same time, 10 vortices appeared in the sky. A stone pillar appeared. Zhenling pointed a finger and shouted loudly, First God Lord. This is the position of the First Lord of Qi Shrine. All stared. In fact, many people have guessed who it is. Jian Wushuang. When he heard his name, he was no longer indecisive, and immediately rose into the air and stood on the stone pillar. This position was given to him, not because of any merit or combat power, but because he almost fulfilled his original promise and brought everyone back. Fan Tianfeng came back and fell by himself, so I won't talk about that. As for Zhenluyang, it can only be said that things are impermanent. Things that can't be done. The rest of them were brought back intact, and their strengths were astonishing. This is also a credit, if it is about the dazzling degree in the Qishan Temple. In fact, Jian Wushuang is not the first. When he first entered the Qi Temple, among the group of inheritors, Hui Qing was the most dazzling. Later, he emerged and another businessman pressed him on it. He's never been number one. Only this time, the promise to the true spirit was completed, so he was given the position of the first god. Second God Lord. Zhenling looked at Hui Qing this time without any surprises. The position of the second should also be given to Hui Qing. Among the first batch of inheritors of Qi Temple, the most dazzling existence. Also created a lot of myths. Hui Qing's figure flashed, and his footsteps landed on the pillar lightly. There is little objection to this allocation. But when it came to the third god, there were a lot of people who showed a look of resentment. Wu Zua, Qixin's only surviving named disciple. This position was given to Wu Zua. Even Wu Zua himself was shocked. If it is really ranked according to real strength, he is indeed the third. But apart from Jian Wushuang and others, no one knew his true combat power. Junling gave him this position. Chapter 60-80. He glanced at Junling in surprise, then turned to look at Jian Wushuang again. I thought it meant Jian Wushuang. But Jian Wushuang shook his head. This matter is really not Jian Wushuang revealing their true combat power, but Junling's own plan. In the beginning, I made you feel wronged. This is a compensation, but don't be careless. The order is only temporary. Junling laughed lightly and patted Wu Zua's shoulder. Wu Zua was stunned for a moment, and his eyes turned red. He didn't expect Junling to care so much about him one day. That doesn't care about strength. It's not because he's strong that he cares about him. Since returning to Qi Temple, he couldn't help but want to express himself in front of Junling several times, and let Junling see how powerful he is now. No shame for the master. Just didn't get a chance to show it. The confidence he showed in front of the true spirit was all because of his own strength. But now Junling gave him the position of the third god lord without looking at his strength. How could he not be excited? He nodded heavily, took a step and landed his feet heavily on the stone pillar, as if to say that he would definitely keep this position. Junling also nodded in relief. There are already candidates for the positions of the three major gods. In the follow-up position, the true spirit will be established depending on whose aura is stronger. Fourth god lord, no heaven. Wuxin's name is very unfamiliar, but no one is unfamiliar when it comes to Tongtian Buddha. Even in the Qixin Temple today, the one who left the most disciples and grandchildren is Tongtian Buddha. The boundless Buddha at the beginning is now the master of the universe in the Four Tribulations realm. He also feels that Wutian is unfamiliar. The previous Tongtian Buddha, in the eyes of the infinite Buddha, was a downright villain, but he was just a good disguise. Now it seems that it is not disguised, and directly incarnates into a demon. His strength reached a height that he couldn't climb, and his heart was relieved all of a sudden. He is just a little elder of Yuanyang Palace, and the former Tongtian Buddha is now Wutian, who is already the fourth god. Really can't compare. He also gave blessings from the bottom of his heart. But those disciples and grandchildren of Tongtian Buddha could not accept it. Unable to accept that the Tongtian Buddha fell into the devil's way and became a devil Buddha without heaven in the endless hell. But at this level, those laws and regulations have faded away, but people's hearts haven't changed. After the fourth god lord was established, the fifth god lord was even more unexpected. The Lord of Light and Shadow. The first of the first batch of testers. It is also a glorious arrogance. It's just that few people remember it. Because it was too long ago, the faces of the group of testers were still immature at the beginning, but now they have become super existences, rivaling the ancient times. Because I know very little, I was just surprised. On the contrary, the backbone Luo was a little unconvinced, and even let Guangying rank in front of him, silently vowing in his heart to surpass the other party, and even personally kill Miexing to grab the first gong, and earn the position of the first god lord. Sixth god lord. Junling pulled his voice very long, looked at the remaining three people, gave him a sense of expectation, and finally pointed to a frustrated person. Finish. Standing in the corner, Wanyan thought she had heard it wrong. This time he returned, his complexion was the worst among the crowd, and he looked unhappy and didn't have much expectations. I didn't expect myself to be ranked 6th. His combat power, not the backbone of Luo Chang, or even inferior to Dongxing, was ranked 6th, and the twilight receded for a while. A burst of energy surged in his heart, and he immediately led the order and fell firmly on top of the 6th stone. Dongxing didn't feel resentful because Wanyan was in front of him, but was very happy for Wanyan. Among those second-generation inheritors, There are several descendants of Wan Yen who are also proud of their ancestors. Only the backbone Luo felt unfair, but he couldn't say it. In the bottom of my heart, I can only secretly write it down. I am determined to be a blockbuster, and I must surpass everyone. At the same time, he is also looking forward to the seventh god. It should be him this time. Unfortunately, Junling called out a name that he felt unfamiliar. Not him and Dongxing. Sacred Tomb Mountain, the fifth mountain master, Xinjiao. The name shocked everyone, especially those second-generation inheritors. Xinjiao, the lord of the Six Tribulations realm universe. Not an ordinary inheritor, so many people were shocked. Even the merchants were surprised. Xinjiao. Jian Wushuang also recited the name silently, thinking of the young man he met when he was chasing and killing Jiang Shang in the secret realm of the human world. A smile leaked from the corner of his mouth. The fifth mountain master of the Tomb God Mountain, this title is actually a Shang seal. Because Xinjiao is a businessman. The master of the universe at the peak of the Six Tribulations realm is not the master of the hall, nor the master of the hall, but a mountain master who does not have much power, only the master of those peaks opened by the Tomb God Mountain. But against the Temple of Destruction, he is a sharp blade, and has a record of beheading the same level. You must know that after reaching the Five Tribulations realm, it is very difficult to kill a powerhouse of the same rank, not to mention that it happens in a small place like downstream time and space. Some dull Xinjiao did not expect that he would become a god, feeling the gazes of countless eyes, and felt a little overwhelmed. Go, child, it belongs to you. Junling raised his finger and pointed to the seventh pillar. Only then did Xinjiao slowly fly away, and the moment he fell on the pillar, he couldn't believe it was true. But a look at him made him shudder. Congratulations. Jian Wushuang clasped his fists and smiled at each other. This surprised many people, knowing that after Jian Wushuang reached the first pillar, he did not open his mouth or congratulate anyone, but now he is very politely congratulating Xinjiao. Senior. At this moment, Xinjiao saw the figure who brought him to the cultivation path. At first, he didn't know it was Jian Wushuang. Later, as his strength continued to grow stronger, he also began to look for Jian Wushuang's whereabouts. He still learned from Junling that it was Jian Wushuang who saved him at the beginning. He has always remembered the name. Until the return of Jian Wushuang. Now that he heard the praise of which senior, he felt that all the efforts were worth it. He changed the secret realm of the human world, and also changed his own mind. Among the top 10 gods, the first local powerhouse of Qi Temple also appeared. Xinjiao, who came from the secret realm of the human world, won the position of the seventh god. Next, the eighth god lord gave Dongxing. There was not much fluctuation this time, because the second-generation inheritors also understood that the position of the god lord was prepared for Jian Wushuang and the others. But one of them, an ordinary lord of the Three Tribulations realm universe, had a proud look on his face. Magic Sound General. Dongxing and Wanyan's masters were also their backers. Now his disciple has become in the blink of an eye. This made the demonic sound god general feel that there was light on his face. In a twinkling of an eye, the two disciples who were just accepted at random turned out to be divine masters. Chapter 6081. Dongxing was also not polite and entered the pillar directly. The backbone Luo was gnashing his teeth below, and said with anger, I was ranked 9th, wait, I will let you know, underestimate my fate. He's going to be a blockbuster. If it weren't for the Tomb of the Gods, he would want to explode some divine power, and let these people see how powerful he is. Unfortunately, he never expected that the position of the 9th God Lord would not be given to him. Instead, it was given to a second-generation inheritor. 10 gods. Jian Wushuang and others must occupy 8 positions. There are 2 remaining positions. One is given to the strong Xinjiao from the Qi Temple, the other is naturally selected from the second generation of inheritors. And this candidate was beyond everyone's expectations. It is an extremely young inheritor, and it is very short to become the Six Tribulations realm. Even after he reached the Six Tribulations realm, he never made a move, and few people knew his true strength. Speaking of which, this person is also somewhat related to Jian Wushuang. But it's not a big relationship. If we really want to talk about relationship, it still has some relationship with the mother of the other party. Gong Miaoyi. When the opponent appeared, Jian Wushuang felt an invisible force of cause and effect. At the beginning, because of him, it broke Gong Miaoyi's heart. She didn't expect her son to be so old now. However, after he entered the Qishan temple, he did not notice Gong Miaoyi's breath. There was no portrait of Gong Miaoyi on the mountain. But what he can be sure of is that Gong Miaoyi has fallen. The son left behind is named Gong Ming. He is also the most talented cosmos master in the Qishan temple in the past 100,000 eras. Because he was born in the 100,000th era, he has already become the master of the Six Tribulations realm universe. However, after he became the lord of the Six Tribulations realm universe, he was still in the tomb Sacred Mountain. It belongs to the powerhouse directly under the True Spirit. Of course, this also has something to do with his life experience. Jian Wushuang saw the story from the other side, and am afraid there is another bleak ending behind it. In any case, the ninth God Lord from the second generation of inheritors. Even if he does not belong to any faction, it cannot change the fact. The backbone Luo was going crazy, and he was actually placed behind a young boy. Xingjiu will not say it, although he is the master of the universe of the Six Tribulations realm, but he has also killed the same rank. Not a good. The seventh is Xingjiu, the eighth is Dongxing, and the ninth is Gong Ming. A master of the universe who has cultivated in the 100,000 era. It didn't take long for him to break through the Six Tribulations realm, and he was even in front of him. Not convinced. He was really unconvinced. But you can't argue with your younger generation about the quickness of your tongue, you can only talk about it later. The position of the 10th God Lord is no longer in suspense. Naturally, it is the backbone of Luo. No one cared what the real spirit said. Zhenling was much simpler this time, and said directly, "Backbone Luo, this last pillar is yours, I let you play at the end, you won't blame me." He didn't forget to kill people. Backbone Luo could only let out a smile and said indifferently, "How come, I am an inactive person, I am ashamed of the name of the Lord of God, how can I still care about the order?" "Huh, that's good." Zhenling laughed loudly, ignoring the other party. Who would lick their face to protest this kind of thing? Gu Luo can only be dumb to eat coptis. In fact, I still want to compare. If it was Jian Wushuang, he would definitely not care about this. The throne of God is established. The next thing is to plan the expedition. Everyone is back, and the war is about to begin. Shang, who had been standing beside him, saw the sign of the true spirit, and stood up and announced, 3 days later, the main hall masters and hall masters, as well as the 10 major gods who have just established, come here to discuss the expedition, and the rest everyone prepares individually, and soon they will attack the Temple of Destruction. As soon as these words came out, countless people had high fighting spirit. Over the years, they have suffered for too long. They have long wanted to go out and fight against the Temple of Destruction, but without the order of the true spirit, they can't go out, and they can only wait. Now the days are over. After the announcement was made, the crowd began to disperse. But Jian Wushuang and the others didn't know where to go, they all stayed where they were. At this time, Xingjiu also took the initiative to step forward and respectfully said, "Thank you for your guidance many years ago, Xingjiu will never forget it. You don't have to thank me, you have today's achievements because of your hard work." Jian Wushuang didn't expect the other party's achievements to be so high. At first, he just thought that Xingjiu had a superb appearance, but he didn't expect that the other party would come back this time. Become the Lord of the Six Tribulations realm universe. And also beheaded the same level. If it wasn't for him coming back to cross the seventh calamity, he would have almost been on the same level as the opponent. This indeed exceeded his expectations, and the other party worked harder. Only half today's strength. It also reminded him of the scene of traveling through the future on the Mahayana Lingshan mountain. In the future, when he failed to join the path, it was Xingjiu who protected and redeemed him. In fact, the love between the two has already been cleared up. Ukanshu. Calm, he chatted with the other party for a long time with an equal attitude, and then he left angrily after being called away by Shang. 3 days later, the discussion about the Temple of Destruction also made the 4 secret realms lively, and everyone was gearing up. But treasures are scarce. At this time, the treasure brought by Wu Zui came in great use. Jian Wushuang also took advantage of this time, condensed a lot of life force, and took out all his treasures. Almost everything that is useless to oneself is given to true spirit. The treasure trove of Qi Temple instantly swelled up. In the past, there were only tens of thousands of treasures, but now there are thousands of them. The treasures collected by Qishan Temple are actually not many. Even if there is a so-called time and space treasure, it is also stained with the light of extinction, and it was obtained from the gods at the beginning. There are quite a few ordinary treasures. After all, Qishan's strength was not weak at the beginning, and he collected 7088 treasures from the entire Morwa time and space, so that Qishan Temple could cultivate so many masters of the universe. Of course, it also has a relationship with the downstream space-time. But there will be a day when the treasure will finally have its light. After all these years, if it weren't for Zenling's diligent and thrifty housekeeping, they would all beg for food. Fortunately, Wu Zui had foresight and got a batch of treasures early. Now comes in handy. This made Jinling very happy and said with relief, "My vision was really right back then, and I accepted a disciple like you." Wu Zui is also very happy, he just eats this one. Jian Wushuang took the opportunity to find the palace inscription who was named the 9th god. After all, it is also a descendant of an old man, and he still has to take care of 1 or 2. Anyway, these few days, he has nothing to do, and the people who were going to visit have almost fallen. Senior. Gong Ming noticed that Jian Wushuang had come to him, and hurriedly bowed and saluted, with a well-behaved personality and no arrogance. Chapter 6082. This made Jian Wushuang very surprised. In his impression, Gong Miaoyi was the master who never bowed his head, but he did not expect his son to have such a personality. I really don't know who the other's father is and how good his character is to give birth to such a son. Jian Wushuang looked at each other and smiled lightly. No need to be nervous, I'm an old friend with your mother, I didn't expect her to be too. He couldn't help sighing. Mother. Gong Ming took a deep breath, thinking of what his mother explained back then, and he didn't know whether to say it, but he could feel that Jian Wushuang had no ill intentions towards him. It's just that what his mother said before his death was really different from what he saw. Because before his mother fell, he once explained that he could ask Jian Wushuang for help in the future, but it depends on Jian Wushuang's character at that time. If Jian Wushuang's character is tyrannical, he can hide as far as he can. Be careful if you have a bland personality. At least 3,000 to 5,000 epochs must be observed before opening. But just after meeting, Gong Ming felt that Jian Wushuang was not like what his mother said, a cunning villain, a big devil. On the contrary, I feel that Jian Wushuang treats people very kindly. He didn't know how miserable Jian Wushuang had done to Gong Miaoyi, and he wouldn't think so if he knew it. Jian Wushuang was also so amiable when he saw Gong Ming because he owed Gong Miaoyi back then. For a while to ask for warmth, and for a while to send treasures. This made Gong Ming doubt his mother's character. Jian Wushuang is simply a great man. Where is it like a cunning villain? Nephew, you can rely on this token to find me when you encounter difficulties in the future. I dare not say that your uncle Wushuang is still covered. Jian Wushuang did not exaggerate. The most dreaded thing is to destroy life, and when it is done, he will basically be invincible. Covering a person is not easy. And also to hold the other party as the new star of Qi Temple in the future. A great blueprint has long appeared in his heart, but there is a threat of death, and he can't use it. When the death is finished, it will be time for the expansion of the Qi Temple. Gong Ming was very moved when he received the token, nodded solemnly, and said gratefully, "Definitely." After caring about the younger generation, Jian Wushuang began to prepare for business. This time, when he returned to Qi Temple, he still had one more thing to do. It's about beast soldiers. Cough cough. He came to Junling, glanced at Wu Zhuo, who was still talking about himself and boasted, and coughed twice, indicating that the other party was almost done. He had his credit for getting these treasures in the first place, and he couldn't be alone. All occupied. At this time, Wu Zhuo was on the rise. Regardless of Jian Wushuang's reminder, he was still bragging about how wide his network was in the upstream time and space, and the true spirit's eyes were stunned by gold stars. Before the destruction of life was solved, he began to fantasize about breaking into the upstream time and space and dominating the entire northern time and space. Jian Wushuang coughed for a while beside him before he pulled the true spirit back to reality. That, Xiao Wuzhua, you go talk to Shang Xian, we are not in a hurry. Zhenling also felt that he was thinking too much, so he wanted to leave Wuzhua. But Wu Zuojing was talking vigorously, without looking at him at all. If it weren't for the treasure's sake, Zhenling would want to slap Wu Zhuo on the head. Too blind to see. Don't worry, don't worry. Jian Wushuang smiled awkwardly on the side. It's rare that Brother Wu Zhuo is so interested. Forget it, I'll talk about it next time. I know you have something to talk about. Wu Zhuo saw Jian Wushuang behind him. He quickly vacated his seat, waved his hand and went to Shang's side. At this time, Hui Qing and others were also reminiscing about the past with Shang, chatting about the past few years. Of course, the big things have been finished by the true spirit, and now they are talking about some small things, as well as their own affairs in the upper space and time, and share them with everyone. It also let the strong people at the time know how big and wonderful the outside world is. Actually, that's nothing. The entire upstream time and space for them, and not much challenge. Of course, it only includes Hui Qing and him. If there is one more, Count Wu Zhuo, who made his background sky-high. Wu Shuang, do you have something to do with me? Zhenling looked at Jian Wushuang with a heavy face, thought there was something big, and suddenly became serious. Jian Wushuang smiled lightly. It's not a big deal, I'm ashamed to say. I want Lord Zhenling to help me collect the remaining beast soldiers. Beast God Soldier. Zhenling said with a small smile when he heard about it. It seems that you have also discovered the speciality of the Beast Divine Soldier. Seeing Zhenling's expression, Jian Wushuang said in surprise, you know. He did not expect that the true spirit also knew the special characteristics of the 9 beasts. In this way, you can drop by to find out how this beast magic weapon is refined. There must be some reason why Qishan, the Lord of the 7 Tribulations realm universe, can refine such a powerful treasure. Originally, he was curious, but now that he knows about the true spirit, he is even more curious. I made this book, how could I not know it? Zhenling blew his beard and stared, began to preach about the refining of beast magic weapons. In fact, he only has the memory of refining the beast magic weapon back then. At that time in Morwa time and space, there were 9 beast gods. Each of these beast gods was at the level of the 7 Tribulations realm. All of them were beheaded by Qishan, and finally refined into 9 great beast soldiers. Since the adults also know, then I will not spare the circle. Simply put, I want to gather the 9 great beasts. Jian Wushuang was not polite, and directly stated his purpose. Gathering together the 9 great beast divine weapons, plus the origin of the year beasts he obtained, refined the 9 great beast divine weapons into one. Although his divine power increase now relies entirely on super eternity change, this can no longer satisfy him. In other words, apart from the super eternity change, he has no other ability to improve. The improvement of the basic divine power has reached completion. Only when you reach the 8 Tribulations realm can you be promoted again. And there is also a limit to the improvement, which depends on the situation of his tribulation. He also has to plan ahead and prepare for the future. Zhenling was stunned when he heard that he was going to collect the 9 great beasts and exclaimed, "What do you want these things? Although I was super capable at the beginning, these 9 beasts are the innate treasures of the universe, but the limit for improvement is very low. Even if you have gathered the 9 great beasts, at most it is the treasure of the peak of the 8 Tribulations, and I think you are not lacking such treasures." Jian Wushuang just took out several treasures of the 8 Tribulations realm at once. How could he take a fancy to these beast soldiers, which made him very surprised. Jian Wushuang didn't hide it, and explained his understanding of the beast soldiers. Don't worry about this matter, you can find it slowly after solving the death. After Zhenling heard it, there was a hint of shock. He himself did not expect that the upper limit of the beast soldiers would be so high. Chapter 6083. Or in other words, there is such a high upper limit in Jianwu's hands. If you give it to a waste, it may not work. It seems that Wu Zhuo has already told you that there are still 3 divine beast weapons in the Qishan temple. I don't know where to go for the rest. It is very likely that they were left behind. Zhenling's tone was a little embarrassing. He didn't care about these treasures, but rather these treasures now have owners, and only one is still in hand. Jian Wushuang also saw it and said bluntly, I can do everything I can to exchange it, and I can satisfy all the opportunities below the 9 tribulations realm. What you're talking about is a bit outlandish, but now the battle is imminent. Zhenling simply did not hide it and said, I originally had 3 beast soldiers, but I have 2 of them. It was given to Shang and Luo. Jiang Liang's spear, Phoenix Feather Spear. Hearing that in the hands of Shang and Luo, Jian Wushuang was too embarrassed to speak. The husband and wife have been sitting in the Qi temple for hundreds of millions of years. They have just returned, and they have occupied the position of the gods. It would be more difficult to say. Fortunately, it is not the life and the treasure, there is still hope. When the extinction of life is resolved, he will discuss it in person. Zhenling's words were unreliable, and he was afraid that after seeing his true combat power, Zhenling would chill Shang and Luo's heart again. The other party is a hero and cannot make people feel cold. Don't worry, it won't be too late to talk after I have collected the other 7 pieces. Besides, the entire northern dimension can help me gather the 9 great beasts, and they don't exist yet. Even if I collect them now, it's useless. He eased click to show no rush. Zhenling was afraid that Jian Wushuang would be in a hurry, and quickly added, You take this one in my hand first. As he spoke, he took out the 8th beast divine weapon. A dark red helmet. Beast soldier, Sizi crown. The treasure of psychic power can improve your psychic power. Jian Wushuang held it in his hand, and he didn't feel that there was much special, but simply improved his psychic power. But for ordinary powerhouses, it was a super treasure, and it was too important to increase his psychic power. But to him, it is not as magical as the candle dragon. After carefully accepting it, he politely said, Thank you. You're welcome. Zhenling waved his hand and changed the subject. See what you mean, it's almost collected now. Jian Wushuang nodded with a smile. Well, this is the 6th piece I got. From the very beginning of the beast divine soldier Zhulong, to the Tai Mian, Qilin, Qinglong, Shield Kong and the current Suzaku, which were obtained in the middle reaches of time and space, 6 pieces have been collected. Count Jiang Liang and Fengyu. There is only one thing left. After hearing a few pieces, Zhenling couldn't help but ask curiously, Is this all obtained in the middle reaches of time and space? Right. Then, the middle reaches of time and space? Zhenling hesitated, and the sword hanging over his head had not disappeared, so he was concerned about the past, which was a little out of place. Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile, I was in the middle reaches of the time and space, and I saw the original Morwa time and space. It's a pity. Yes, Wu Zhuo brought back the ruins of the Morwa time and space if you... Zhenling said freely, forget it, it's all those old-fashioned things. That said, but judging from the other party's expression, he still has feelings for everything in the past. Even if it only inherits some memories, it is still impossible to forget the past glory. Qi Shrine will be great again. Not far. Right in front of you. After chatting with Zhenling for a while, he left the Tomb God Mountain alone. There are still a few days left, and he wants to see the 4 secret realms. He has already entered the realm of time and space, and he does not need to take the teleportation array at all, and he can travel through the entire 4 secret realms at will. Holy Grave. Tomb God Mountain. 99th floor. He could have done it already. At this time, he realized that he still has a second soul here. At first, I thought that after leaving a few epochs, At most tens of thousands of epochs, I would return. Unexpectedly, one departure is millions of epochs. So much so that his second primordial spirit, separated from the deity for a long time, has now been destroyed. Back to his cave again. Only one body remained. The origin of the mind has long since lost its color. Hair turned black. I remember when I left, my hair was still white. Looking at his second primordial spirit, he sighed and wanted to reach out to touch it, but before he could reach out, his flesh turned into powder. He couldn't believe it. The second primordial spirit at the beginning, although the physical body was not as good as the deity, was also immortal. It will turn into powder. And even the power of thought can't reshape these powders. Strangeness. Jian Wushuang frowned, his mind power directly probed into the origin of the downstream spacetime, trying to find the second soul who lost his origin, but found that he couldn't find it at all. As long as it is a practitioner who has fallen in the downstream time and space, the origin will return to the origin of the downstream time and space. He did not find his own in the origin of time and space. That is to say, the source of his second primordial spirit may not have fallen at all. But obviously no one has been out here. At first, the true spirit could not get in. Forget it, we'll have the opportunity to ask the Realm King in the future. Northern time and space is the realm of the Realm King, maybe the other party knows. After staying alone in the cave for a while, there was nothing to remember here, so I packed up the relics left by the second primordial spirit and left the Tomb God Mountain. Then he went directly to the top of the secret realm of the Tomb of the Gods, the secret realm of the human world. This is Exangio's hometown. Back then, he had chased and killed Jiang Shang here, and it was also the place where he first encountered destruction. I remember that at that time he just came out of the first prison and came to the secret realm of the human world. At that time, the secret realm of the human world had been solidified, like an old stubborn, no fresh blood was born. It was he who gave Exangio hope to change all this. Today's secret realm of the human world is not weak in any place. There are a lot of strong people. Of course, many of them moved in from behind. Because of the discussion about the expedition in 3 days, the powerhouses in the entire Qishan Temple are now mobilizing. In fact, it is they who really decide the winner. But these people are also useful. That is the battle of origin. Compete for the origin of the downstream spacetime. These cannot be resisted by one person. The current extinction almost controls the entire downstream time and space, and fighting in the downstream is very unfavorable for them. If you want to break all this, you need those emperors and robbery powerhouses to fight. The foundation of the 4 secret realms is still very solid. There are so many emperors that they are already comparable to a time and space. It was right that Jinling decided to open Qishan Temple and release all the inheritors. Opened a sect and trained a large number of strong men. This is much stronger than staying in the Qishan Temple all the time. If the Temple of Destruction of the World is not growing too fast, the Qishan Temple will be stronger. He only stayed in the human world for a while, and then he left leisurely. Boundary. The former West Coast. Chapter 6084. Morocco is still there. Daxia is gone. He stayed in the land for a long time, and he also left a lot of memories at the beginning. He once pretended to be the Prince of Daxia, and also drifted away from King Bai. He also encountered the opportunity of the 3 Kings' court. It's just that things are different, and there are no acquaintances. After the White King was reshaped, he also fell. There was also the original Morwa Great Elder, who was a foreigner from Morwa Kingdom, but left his life in Morwa Kingdom. Ugh! Jian Wushuang sighed softly, turned and left the boundary. He did not go directly to heaven, but to Primal Star. The Vermilion Bird Palace is still here. In the dark red hall, silhouettes hurried. Today's Vermilion Bird Hall Master is a remarkable figure. Although he is not as powerful as Exangio, he has unique means. Among the 4 halls, the Vermilion Bird Hall was originally a hall behind Ang. The power is comparable to that of the White Tiger Palace, and it is also very good in external battles. This is all because of the current Temple Master. Ji Wushuang, the little girl from Jis family. He also had to meet each other for the first time. Ji Chaoyang's little niece is now the master of the peak universe in the Six Tribulations realm. In the past, he was young and frivolous, but now he is domineering in a stable manner. Jian Wushuang passed through the hall and just glanced at each other. In the Tomb God Mountain, they separated before reminiscing with each other. Now that he has returned to the Vermilion Bird Hall, he is already arranging the expedition. Really matured a lot. If it was before, he would definitely come forward and have a chat with his elder. Perhaps because of the great responsibility, he has let go of his original character. Through the main hall, he did not disturb the other party, but just stopped a deacon of the Vermilion Bird Hall. Give this mustard seed to your hall master. The deacon of the Vermilion Bird Palace who was frightened was an extremely strong man. He just felt a little fuzzy in his mind, as if he had received an irresistible task, so he held the mustard seeds blankly. Go to Suzaku Palace. After handing the mustard to Ji Wushuang, he woke up. Who gave you this mustard seed? Ji Wushuang just checked the contents of the mustard seed, and his pupils dilated, and some couldn't believe it was true. The deacon of the Vermilion Bird Hall who had regained consciousness was stunned when he saw that he was in the hall, and the hall master was still asking questions, but he still told the strange things he encountered in an orderly manner. Ji Wushuang understood at once. The originally calm eyes also revealed a trace of once clear eyes, and said in a low voice, I see, you should step back first. Yes. The deacon of the Vermilion Bird Palace couldn't believe it. The voice just now came from the mouth of the hallmaster, and he was stunned for a while before slowly retreating. At the same time, he was also curious in the bottom of his heart, what caused the palace master to reveal his gentle side. He thought that the palace master had always been cold-faced. The figures in the hall were busy, but Ji Wushuang, the master of the hall, was stunned for a while, then turned to look outside the hall, but did not see the familiar figure. In the end, he just sighed, accepted the mustard seeds, and continued to work. At this time, Jian Wushuang had already left the front hall of Suzaku Hall. Suzaku Hall and the apse. There are no practitioners here, they are all puppets. It is the predecessor of Suzaku Hall. Zhu Yi is also here. It's just that he came here, not for Zhu Yi, but for Zhu Qi. This Shanjun's old friend is good. At the beginning, Shanjun was kind to him, and he should have come to see it. When he came back, he hadn't seen her yet. After all, it is just a puppet of the emperor, and it is useless to the Qi temple now. They stayed in the Vermilion Bird Palace, and now they are just busy with some chores. Even Zhu is like this. Jian Wushuang quietly entered a side hall, and Zhu Qi was in it. Some files are being sorted at this time. He was so busy that he didn't realize that Jian Wushuang was already in front of him. It was because Jian Wushuang blocked the light of the candlelight that she hurriedly looked up. It's you! Zhu Qi exclaimed, Jian Wushuang? She couldn't believe it. At the beginning, Jian Wushuang disappeared with many people. He learned that he had gone to the outside world, and there was no news since then. He didn't expect to appear in front of her today, and it was hard to believe for a while. Long time no see. Jian Wushuang let out a smile. Zhu Qi quickly got up to pour water. The two sat opposite each other and chatted for a long time. Of course, the person talking is still Shanjun. It was also from the other party's mouth that Jian Wushuang knew Shanjun again. Don't watch him visit these characters one by one, they have nothing to do with the overall situation. In fact, he was understanding the struggle. Get to know Shanjun. It is equivalent to understanding Kishin's devouring avenue. From Zhu Qi's mouth and his own understanding, he couldn't believe that Shanjun was an obstacle to Qishin. In other words, swallowing the avenue is not a crooked way. Not so bad either. Perhaps it was only Qishin who was wrong. After chatting for a long time, he left. It's a pity that Zhu Qi is just a puppet, and he can't help for the time being. In the future, you can help the other party change to a stronger body, or a stronger source, so that she can live like a person. The 4 major halls he visited in turn. I went to the White Tiger Palace, but I was not very familiar with Bai Yi, just briefly greeted. Qinglong Hall is the same. Only when he arrived at the Xuanwu Hall, he stayed for a long time. I chatted with Xian Yi from the Xuanwu Hall for a long time. In the beginning, did he really say that? It's absolutely true, that senior actually just passed by the Qixin temple. He went to the depths of the primordial universe and said that he was looking for someone. He used my name and gave me a chance. Xian Yi said here, suddenly thought of something. He took out a small box and said, which senior asked me to hand it over to you, saying that when you take the initiative to come to see me, let me give it to you. Thank you. Jian Wushuang got up and took it respectfully. With both hands attached to the wooden box, his eyes changed. In Xian Yi's surprise, he left the Xuanwu Hall. The depths of the universe that the teacher said is his hometown, but unfortunately everything is gone now. After going through these things, Jian Wushuang has long thought about it, and he has been guessing what teacher Xuanyi is going to do. In the past, he thought that his mysterious master might be the reincarnation of a powerful person who needed his help. Later, when they met again in the Court of Three Kings, he thought that the teacher wanted to entrust him with something. Now give him this wooden box again. He held it in his hand and did not open it for a long time. When you take the initiative to meet the Xuanwu Palace Master, give this thing to him. When he was in Daojun, he was able to see Xuanwu Hall Master. The things left behind are probably not treasures. Click. After hesitating for a long time, he carefully opened the box. The wooden box was opened, and a token lay quietly inside. Above it is written the starry sky text. God King. The two ancient words, the moment he looked at them, a powerful pressure overwhelmed his breath. Chapter 6085. Just one glance made his source starry sky tremble. The existence of refining this token is probably much stronger than him. At least the universe god. Or a certain star in the starry sky. Even Zama's, a candidate for KO god, did not give him such a big impact. If he looked directly at this token when he was Daojun, wouldn't he have been directly shocked to death? No. Jian Wushuang smiled bitterly. It seems that the teacher has already arrived today. He had no reason not to doubt this question. After all, after reaching this level, he still can't see through the teacher's realm and identity. How can he be as naive as he imagined? Thinking of this, he simply used his mind power to probe this token. Psychic has just entered the token. A simple line of words appeared in his mind. If you encounter difficulties, you can crush the token, and someone will help you solve everything. Solve everything? Jian Wushuang murmured in a low voice, his eyes rosy. The only one who can say this to him is his master. Like a towering tree. Cover everything for him. Be careful with the token income source. It is also a rare trump card. But to crush the token, there is only one chance. He will not use it lightly. In other words, when he accepted it, he did not intend to use it. Now he doesn't need shelter from the wind and rain. He has to carry everything by himself, even fighting to the last breath. Thinking of this, his eyes were firm, his figure flashed again, and he had reached the heaven. For secret realms, only the light of heaven can make him comfortable, especially in Yuanyang Lake in heaven. Finding a secluded grassland, he sat cross-legged alone, took out a pot of wine and drank it, very comfortable. Today's Qixin temple is overcrowded. There are few such secluded places. In 3 days he only spent 1 day visiting acquaintances. For the remaining 2 days, I just sat there in a daze. Don't even practice. These were the 2 slowest days for him, and he felt the passage of time on him. In the past, cultivation was counted in 10,000 years. Now that I'm still, I realize how precious time is. The disadvantage of submerged cultivation is that people are stuck at a bottleneck because they cannot feel the passage of time. This is what he realized in the past 2 days. Suddenly stopping like this, feeling the mystery of time, is more useful than his practice of 100,000 years. Time is not about how much you have, but how you use it. Call. He stood up slightly and closed his eyes slightly. When he opened his eyes again, he had already reached the tomb of God. In the dojo of Qixin, 10 gods. For lords, the master of the 6 halls of Yuanyang Palace, as well as Shang and Luo, all arrived. In the center of the dojo, there is a long table. The 10 gods sit opposite the 4 halls and 6 halls. Shang and Luo sat in front of the long table, one left and one right. In the middle, there is still a vacancy, which is reserved for the true spirit. Now that they are all here, there is only one person left. I don't know where this little old man went. After waiting for a while, the real spirit came in a hurry. When everyone is ready, let's start straight away. Zhenling sat down with a butt, and he was not pretending at this time. The seats were all arranged by him. Now it has been explained that he is the boss. Shang got up at this time, took out a jade slip and put it on the long table, and the map of the downstream space-time appeared directly on the table. Everyone please see, this is the map of the long river of time and space. The red marks are the positions where the powerhouses of the Temple of Destruction are stationed. If we go to the Temple of Destruction, we must remove these positions one by one. When discussing the details, Jian Wushuang and the others listened in a foggy way. They really didn't understand this, but also a necessary scramble. Otherwise, there will be very few sources that they can mobilize when they wait for the big battle. Just the first step, it took a long time to negotiate before finalizing it. The vanguard of the expedition was to remove several demon domains in the original universe. The powerhouses stationed in the Temple of Destruction of the primitive universe have 3 lords of the 7 tribulations realm universe. This task was handed over to the 4th god, Wu Tian. The 3 lords of the 7 tribulations realm universe, the most powerful ones are less than 3 million, and Wu Tian can easily solve it by himself. The rest is pretty much the same as the beginning. It was Jian Wushuang and others who went to behead, and the rest was handed over to the powerhouses of the 4th Hall and Yuanyang Palace to settle the funeral. The respective tasks were quickly assigned to each other. The red marks on the desktop were removed one by one, leaving the Temple of Destruction headquarters. At this time, Zhenling also slowly said, "Once you all start, I will move the Qishan Temple to the side of the Temple of Destruction. After waiting for your news, after eradicating all the powerhouses of the Temple of Destruction, I will besiege the Temple of Destruction together." Threat number 1, destroy life. Everyone here knows this. It's just that very few people know about the combat power of destruction, except Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, let's talk about it. Zhenling knew that Miexing came for Jian Wushuang, so let Jian Wushuang explain the strength of Miexing. Originally, Jian Wushuang was not going to tell the truth, so as not to shake the hearts of the army. But after thinking about it, if you don't say it when the extinction comes, you reads www. A few stunned youths rushing over to aren't they courting death? However, it is not possible to bluntly say the identity of Di Shengsheng. It is too troublesome to explain, and few of the people who say it can understand it. He simply said succinctly, "I just want everyone to remember one thing. Except for me and Hui Qing, everyone should stay away from the destruction of life. This is not your opponent. Your opponent is the powerhouse in the Temple of Destruction." This is a bit simple, but also a bit arrogant. Brother Wushuang, you are exaggerating a little bit. How can he be strong for a small death? There is no need for this. Wu Zhuo felt a little dissatisfied on the side. He had just been named the 3rd God Lord. Why can't he show his hand except Hui Qing? Jian Wushuang said very firmly, "I will sit in the middle of the field. If I lose, it will not be too late for you to go up." This. Wu Zhuo was a little embarrassed. If Jian Wushuang is not an opponent, wouldn't it be death to let them go? Simply don't say much. Luo hesitated but did not speak. A decisive battle is a big deal. Changes are fast, not negotiated. Zhenling saw that Jian Wushuang was almost done, knocked on the handle of the seat, and said, "That's the decision. If destiny appears, the first and master Jian Wushuang will take the shot. If he loses, add the 2nd God Lord Hui Qing." After talking about death, there are 2 more threats to the Temple of Destruction. That is Jiang Shang and Broly. Both of them came from the Qi Temple, but they were the biggest threat. Incoming! Hui Qing took the initiative to get up and take orders. Jiang Shang is his disciple, and he will do this. Jian Wushuang hesitated and wanted to get up and say something, but after seeing Hui Qing, he took a deep breath and said, "I agree." Chapter 6086. At this time, he can only say this. There were only a few people who knew about Jiang Shang's affairs. If you let others solve Jiang Shang, it may also mess up Hui Qing's heart, so it's better to let Hui Qing solve it by himself. Seeing that the rest of the people have no opinion, this matter can be considered settled. However, Broly fell on Wuzhua. This time, no one dared to shake the Wu's enthusiasm. After talking about the first three, the threat on the face of the Temple of Destruction, only the Demon Lord and the Mountain Lord are left. Gu Jun is still in the Qi Temple, steady suppressed by the true spirit. These two devouring demon sovereigns transformed by the way of devouring were handed over to Shang Hilenuo. The fourth will supervise the battle, and if you lose, you can help. The rest are dealing with emergencies. After all, no one dares to say that there is no other powerhouse in the Temple of Destruction. I announce with Qi Shen Dharma that I will set off tomorrow at noon, and immediately mobilize the army to prepare for departure. Zhen Ling stood up and solemnly announced. Everyone also got up and looked serious. Dismiss. Shang and Luo took the powerhouses of the Fourth Hall and Yuanyang Palace to leave directly, preparing to go out. All the 10 major gods stayed. They had no soldiers under them. The same goes for Xen Jiao and Gong Ming. You wait here for a while, someone will take you out at noon tomorrow to eradicate the stronghold of the Temple of Destruction. Zhenling explained and left the dojo. Jian Wushuang and the others closed their eyes and rested their minds. War is imminent. Awaiting for that moment. At the same time, the powerhouses in the 4 secret realms have been divided into 12 teams. Shang and Luo each lead a team. The remaining 10 teams are led by the 4 main hall masters and the 6 main hall masters of Yuanyang Palace. It's noon. Set off. Qishan Dojo. The true spirit appeared. Those powerhouses who lead the army just came to the body of law. From now on, all of your deities will leave the Qishan temple, leaving only the Dharma body to report the information ahead. Zhenling said concisely, glanced at everyone, and shouted sharply, "Let's go!" Yes. Everyone got up, and a transparent Dharma body was left on the seats. These Dharmakayas are very fragile, because they say that all the divine power is left on the deity. The last stand, it's all willpower. So that Jian Wushuang and others, the legal body left behind is also very weak. Just to take out this momentum. Whoa! Jian Wushuang tore a space crack and left the Qi temple. Appearing again, it has arrived in the great wilderness. Outside, 12 teams have gathered. The first battle, the vanguard of the sky. They all came out to supervise the battle. At this time, Wu Tian has taken the 4th team, that is, the powerhouse of Vermilion Bird Hall, to the Great Dream Realm in the original universe. Originally, this place was the site of the ancestors of the Great Dream, a medium-sized realm. Now it is the base camp where the Temple of Destruction is stationed in the original universe. There are 3 lords of the universe of the 7 tribulations, and dozens of the lords of the universe of the 6 tribulations. On the other hand, in the Vermilion Bird Palace, there are only 3 6 tribulations realm universe lords. Except for Ji Wushuang, the other 2 are just ordinary 6 tribulation realm universe lords. Although a lot of treasures have been exchanged in the past few days, their strength has not improved much. The divine power is only about 800,000, far inferior to those masters of the universe in the upstream spacetime. This is also normal. However, Ji Wushuang's divine power broke 1 million. In the upstream time and space, that is also the super powerhouse in the 6 tribulations realm. Wu Tian took the lead without any nonsense. Without waiting for Ji Wushuang to bring the army to come, one person incarnates into the endless and directly wraps the entire big dream world in it. But he didn't eat alone. It just reduced everyone's combat power by 90%. As for the 3 lords of the 7 tribulations realm universe, they were not so lucky. Sneak attack. It's the powerhouse of Qi Temple. The powerhouses of the Temple of Destruction in the Great Dream World instantly panicked. This is not to blame for their waste, but the method of Wutian is beyond their imagination. In an instant, they lost 90% of their combat power. So that Ji Wushuang led the team, like chopping melons and vegetables, one-sided suppression and beheading. And Wutian has reached the core of the Great Dream Realm. As soon as the three lords of the Seven Tribulations realm universe appeared, their pupils began to dilate. This master destruction. The matter here has not been reported yet. The three masters of the universe were killed instantly. The three round heads were already suspended by Wushan's hand, his complexion did not change in any way, and his body flashed, and he came to the void of the Great Dream Realm. He did not leave directly, but waited until the battle below was completely over before taking people back to the temporary stronghold in the Great Wilderness. Wutian appeared and threw the three heads directly on the ground. He didn't speak. There was silence on the field. They were all shocked by the fierce fighting power of Wutian. It's too strong, I didn't even react, so it's over? The powerhouses of the four great halls and Yuanyang Palace were all speechless, and the pot exploded in an instant. At the same time, there is endless confidence. This is the strongest stronghold outside the Temple of Destruction. It is easy to solve it only if the fourth God Lord makes a move. Then they can lie flat and prepare for the decisive battle. Moreover, in the decisive battle, there are still the first and second gods, and there is a high probability that they will not be used. At the moment when everyone leaked the meaning of relaxation, the Great Dream World, which had been shattered, began to vibrate. Jian Wushuang frowned, feeling the dead aura, and took a step directly to the void of the Great Dream Realm. After getting closer, it was discovered that death energy emerged from those broken bodies. With so many powerhouses down, the original universe could not have been able to support it, because it has absorbed too many sources of falling. It takes time to digest. But the death energy that appeared here is not that simple. When I first saw it, I thought it was dying. One can imagine how terrifying the breath of death here is. It's a sacrifice ceremony, someone exclaimed, and then loudly reminded, be careful of those dead auras, which will erode the source. Everyone in the vast wilderness looked at Jian Wushuang. Wutian felt that it was his own business, so he followed. But after feeling the dead aura, he kept retreating. Wutian, step back. Jian Wushuang turned his head and said, leave this place to me. After he finished speaking, he condensed countless life force and sprinkled down below. Completely suppressed the power of death. The big dream world is not shaking. The power of death originally wanted to manipulate those fallen monks, but was purified by life. The whole big dream world is full of vitality again. Back to normal. After this incident, Jian Wushuang had to think about it, to use some life force, but to avoid future troubles. Otherwise, attacking those strongholds is equivalent to enhancing the strength of the opponent. But after his life force had just washed away his death energy, those origins that returned to the original universe also disappeared. The fallen primordial monks are actually practitioners of the downstream time and space. They are tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.